Hmm. You you look so young and youthful. What is happening?
My kids and the no makeup.
The no makeup is definitely a thing. I get that all the
The
time.
kids give me that youthful glow. Here, I'm gonna pop on my
All
headset real quick.
all the hormones. All right, hang on.
Yep. Yep. Look at this.
So I have a couple of people asking random questions. So I told them to come on here. And we can
Beautiful.
talk about whatever, but it's just you and me. So whatever you want to talk about, what's funny is, and not so funny, but I've been meaning to, I promised at community camp, and community camp is almost here, right? And I was like, I'm gonna give it away. And then I didn't put anything together. And I really should. And I have it, it's all in my head. Because
Yep.
I was lecturing somebody earlier today, trying to tell them like, what to do so you don't burn out, and that technically your organization's health is only as healthy as you are, especially when you're the leader, when you're in charge, when you're like the little nebulous for everything. So talk to me about what's going on with you.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Like, we had a lot of stuff, like, especially coming out of community camp that I planned to do. And
Yeah.
one of the things I had planned to do, I'm starting on Tuesday or Thursday,
Okay.
Thursday of next week, I believe. Yeah.
What is
So
that? Put it in words for me.
So everyone jokes about Utah being like too reverent to get together and do deals. And
Two what? Two brethren?
reverent, it's a pace joke, a Mormon joke, because we
Okay.
all, you know,
Oh, because you guys are gonna soak and do deals, if anything. Like
I know.
you guys don't do the
Yeah.
full thing. Oh,
We're
that's
just too
funny.
quiet and we don't like get together and we're not loud enough to like get anything done.
It should
But
be like a secret prayer society. That's how you should start. Like the passcode should be like, Pace Morby chapter 1, verse 10. And then you're like, surprise!
here
It's
we
a
are.
intervention.
Yeah. So I had this goal to just highlight more Utah people so that people would get out and meet each other. And while
Okay.
I didn't do that, we've been consistent with a meetup once a month, every month since April of last year. So
Nice.
our meetup is the Squad Up Utah meetup.
Mhm.
And initially there was some like friction with um, the Utah leader because we I think initially we had called it like the Utah Creative Finance Meetup, and it was too
Yeah.
close to the Creative Finance Utah. Like it was
Yeah.
very, very similar.
Yeah.
And that wasn't by design. I think that just was like all of the people who I had collaborated with kind of picked something. And it was hard because the branding was sending really confusing messages to people
Yeah.
who were looking for the sub 2 meetup and they didn't
Right.
know yet that it was separate.
Yeah.
So now that it's branded Squad Up, I think it's a little bit more clear. Um, we started calling it Squad Up before they announced Squad Up Summit, and
Yeah.
that muddies it a little bit.
I don't think so. I actually think it's pretty genius. So like I did a project last year, like last August, called Squad 100 for
Yeah.
something totally different. And then when Squad Up Summit was happening, everybody was like, "Oh, is that in?" And I'm like, "No, it's." But I love the idea. I mean, at the end of the day, Pace has so many between top tier, Gator, sub two, and then we always talk about Astro as our in-laws, and then Wholesale Hotline. You have
Yep.
Brent Daniels, the Hippo tribe. What is that? The Rhino tribe. Oh,
Yeah.
let's get that right. The Rhino tribe. And
We
then
do have a
beyond that,
giant hippo in the
yeah.
place where we meet.
So I get that, like, I love the whole squat up thing because we talk about it all the time. When we say squat up, we're not just saying like, let's be incestuous and squat up only with sub two people. Let's squat up, like, let's reach out, agents, the whole 9 yards. And to me, how do you define the word squat up? How do you, how do you determine, how do you define
We
that?
Honestly, we keep it open for everyone. So we don't just have the different community type
Mhm.
groups, or we end up having trades and like mobile notaries and people who do mortgages, because we don't want anyone to not be able to do a deal just because they're doing a BRRRR strategy
Right.
within Squad Up,
Yeah.
basically. So we do have a very diverse group. Our focus and the way to differentiate it maybe from like a RIA, because we do have local RIAs as
Mhm.
well, is that it's a little bit more um, we are definitely more familiar with both Gator and Sub 2. So the language and the terminology that we use is a little bit more friendly, especially for new Gators, people new to Sub 2 at getting started. And we're very friendly for beginners.
Yeah.
So our definition of Squad Up is just partnering on a deal, whether you're hiring a contractor or that's actually a JV deal.
Yeah.
Um, but the whole vision behind it is just to get out there and make those friendships as well. So we all of our meetups, we were trying to make it accessible. If you have kids, we have childcare available. You just have to RSVP. We last year we did a summer challenge where we gave away a MacBook Pro and some like one-on-one sessions with like really good wholesalers. Yeah, you want to come here?
Utah, you got to go, but you got to subscribe to all the rules. So Melissa, come off mute. This is Melissa Ma. So she's a budding investor here in North Shore. I met her at a new association. I feel like it's hard to call anything else a community besides what Pace started, but there are other like associations, networks. I call it like a network of people that are around others. And so she's part of that. And I'm actually really excited about this one because for me, there are some deficiencies within sub two. You know, it's larger, things happen. And so the thing that I like about, so the woman who runs this one is Pamela Barty. I don't even know how to describe her. She's amazing. She's hanging out with Richard Branson right now. Like this woman is nuts. And she worked, her parents had like a pizza parlor back in the day. And she was like their young entrepreneurial daughter trying to help her immigrant parents run it. And then she became like the youngest contractor in all of New Hampshire. And then she's leading the charge on this, that, and the other. She has a podcast. She like talked to, I don't even know the guy's name, but the guy from Shark Tank. He was like, "Oh, can I record like I don't even know what it's called. Melissa, help me out. Do you know what it's called when you record that little message where you're like, welcome to the Underdog podcast, blah, blah, blah. He did that. The drop, I don't know what it's called, but that
Yeah, I
thing,
don't know what it's called either.
I think his name is Harrington. He's one of the older ones, like from the original ones, but he recorded that for her. So it's her. And then I have an energy coach. That's what I call her because that's what she is for me. But it's Yun Ri. And so she runs that. And so the three things that I think she does very well, I'm adding the third thing for her, but I feel like sub two is definitely like excellence based. The whole reason why we get together is because we want to be good at what we do. And the only way to be good at what we do is to freaking do it and then help each other do it. This sounds very suggestive with the whole Utah and getting things done, but whatever. So doing things, one. The second part is having a high level of integrity. That's the thing that matters a lot. And I think sometimes those waters get a little bit muddy when you start working with people that are newer because they're so desperate to get a deal done and get the proof of concept that sometimes they're willing to like throw ethics out the window because they want to see shit happen. Or other people are succeeding and they're feeling left in the dust and they're like, fuck it, whatever I got to do, let me do it because like, give me something. So excellence, integrity, and the last part, this is the Yun part. Her thing is about spirituality, which I like. And that's the thing that we work on, her and I together, is you developing as a person. Because a lot of people get into real estate and they say, I want to grow and develop as I want to have time freedom and financial freedom. And the whole reason why you do that is once you get to the other side, you're going to be so bored doing nothing. What do? You have to develop as well. And like, I like how, what is it? Jerry Norton talks about it too, that you can only grow you and your financial success can only be as successful as you are successful. So as your personal development grows, so does your revenue and income and all that other fun stuff. So she's part of that group. And then I don't know if you know Andrea Chin. I call her my sugar mama. She likes to I like to travel with her. She's one of the best people to travel with. Andrea, get off your camera right now. She's probably cooking Chinese food at home for her mom, but she's from New York, heavy New York accent. Can't miss her. I mean, you can try to miss her because she's like 4'0", but then she'd be like, yeah, over here. And then you're like, oh shit, she's in the house. Anyway, she goes through a lot of groups. Well, you better fight me right now because I'm not reading your chats to anybody. And nobody can see that. But she's part of the Dealmaker Pro Weekend. She's one of the best people when it comes to networking, believe it or not. She's definitely introverted in my opinion, but the connections that she makes with people, they're kind of like really solid connection so that, you know, you meet her once and you know exactly what she's all about. And then if you ever want to learn about other people or what they're up to, she kind of has the pulse on everything. So half the conversation I have with her is her just asking me, do I know people? And me being like, no. And then her telling me about amazing people. But those are the people in our call now. And then to introduce Becca Brown. Becca Brown is from Utah. She first started as, so Pace came out with Sub 2 back in 2020. And then as time went on, he started unrolling some other programs, one of them being something called Gator. And Gator blows my mind because I'm in the tiny state of Rhode Island. I had this woman who's been a wholesaler out here, like a notorious wholesaler. And the other day she posted a deal and she's like, I'm looking for a second position. I'm looking for 50K in second position, blah, 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 blah. And I clicked on it, and the comment that was underneath it, she goes, yeah, I just learned about it. So it's called Gator. And I was like, oh my God, how far has that reached that in the tiny state of Rhode Island with this little old lady, she's talking about the Gator method and she didn't even know, like, it's not like Pace Morby's Gator method. She just heard it being called Gator. That's impact. That's power. Anyway, so Becca Brown started within the Gator community. Gator community was kind of like small scale lending. So Melissa, for example, Melissa has a flip that she was looking at in Massachusetts. She hasn't done one yet. And I told her, I was like, biatch, if you find a deal and you're ready to do it, I will hold your hand and pop that cherry for you. So what ends up happening is usually you go out and you get a hard money lender that gives you the money to purchase the property. But you also need other money, like you need a down payment for your hard money lender. Your hard money lender wants to know that you're invested in this deal. And so they're going to ask for skin in the game, which is you putting down a down payment. And when you're younger and you're newer, or you're advanced and your money's all over the place, you don't have that kind of money or closing costs. And so what you can actually do is go to another person and borrow money. So right now I borrow money from my brothers and sisters. I pay them 15% flat fee. It's technically not Gator because they just give me money and they leave me alone, but Gator can be like a high turnover. And for the longest time, I thought Gator was like crazy. I thought it was a get rich quick kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, Pace ruined lending for like everybody else trying to lend at like 10, 12, 15%. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to be like 50% of the deal, 10,000 in one day and nothing else. Anyway, Becca first came from that community and then has evolved. And I think you're in Sub 2 now as well, right?
Yep.
She has a great background. She's I would say you're outgoing. You know quite a few people. And the other part about her is she's very similar to me. Like when I first got started, you kind of get really excited about everything and you're like, guys, let's just get together. Let's just be more organized. If we got together and we were like had good communication and blah blah blah, we could do cool things together. So she started making waves out in Utah, doing meetups out there, and then has slowly found her way to kind of, I think, are you providing meetups for like all the community? So you're saying that, and the way that I describe it, I like to call it the real estate ecosystem, because there's so many jobs that make money doing one transaction, whether transaction coordinators, title companies, contractors, attorneys, you know, appraisers on the other side, mortgage underwriters on the other side, whatever the case may be, that benefit from this. So it's good to have, you know, a safe place to gather, and then also one that's a little bit more encompassing. And I like what you said that I Googled RIA when you were talking, because I was like, well, what's the difference? If a RIA is maybe considered more, what is it, like credentialized? Because to a certain extent, I feel like RIAs you know, like the real estate agents, you've got to go to class. A broker, you got to have a license. Real estate agents, you got to have a license. And then the other people are the investors. They're not credentialized, you know, apart from the list of properties that are underneath their name. So when I Googled it, it says a RIA, or a Real Estate Investors Association. That's all it is. It's an investors association in regards to real estate that comes together to support and help each other through group and individual meetings. These meetings provide a venue for education, exchanging ideas, and mutual contacts. Some groups have been around for many years, and some are newly formed. So I would even challenge you and say that a RIA is easily what you're doing. It might be an informal one. It might be like a entry level, or what is it? Entry level, ground floor, newcomers sort of deal. We can find a different way to explain that better, but I love the fact that you call it Squat Up. I think you solved a lot of problems calling it that way. And I agree with you that like people need to be able to find you. And unfortunately to say this, some people are really dumb and they don't want to be dumb, but their like mental agility is being consumed by children or healthcare problems, right? Like crazy shit that happens that they don't have like the full attention to understand, like what is Squat Up. They're like, fuck if I know. But if you're like, oh, Squat Up is all these different communities, and it's an open door to anybody who wants to get together. And the way that I describe Squat Up, at least for me, the way I define it is let's make money together. That's it. Yeah. So
Yep.
Becca runs the Utah group and she's just bringing me up to speed. So last year, actually, Becca, myself, and Andrea, we all went to this thing called community camp. A little bit of a cult in Montana. I'm just kidding. It was a gathering for us to go to. And so at that time, I gave a presentation on leadership because, and Melissa, you heard me talk about this at the meeting we were at, but I ran the Sub 2 New England group for about 3 years. And the way that I ran it really well, number one. But I also, there's part of me that I call Ratchet Suzanne. Like I just get very like loud and ghetto. And I started calling us, like I had a DJ Khaled. I never gave it up. It's not a phase. I have it in me. But I'd be like, we the best music, especially after an event. Like I'm all about cramming it down somebody's throat. So anyway, I called us the best. Nobody challenged us. And so that's, I swear to God, so I tell people that's how I ended up on that stage because I know our shit is hot. Are we the best? Are we the biggest? Are we doing the most work? Lord, if I know, but I got a big ass mouth and I'm going to scream it at everybody. And so that's what happened. So I ended up on stage. There is a way, there is like a math or a formula that I do have just because I put together like processes and things. And Melissa, you'll see this because for Yun and Pamela so the community that they're organizing is called Conscious Business League or Conscious Business Leaders, Conscious Business League. And their whole thing is fusing like spirituality with business and just having like enlightened people do business is kind of their thing. But then my thing is like, let's do excellent business with integrity and then also incorporate that self-development portion of it. So anyway, you'll see this with her community because I'm going to grow it the way that I grew Sub 2 New England. And then Becca, I've been in it for about 3 years and Becca maybe like a year and a half, 2 years now. And so her coming in after me, I told her like, I'll give you everything. Everything that I've done, like I'll hand it over to you. It might not be the perfect fit for you, but take my shit, make it work for you. Because you guys are in Utah and I know you guys do funky stuff out there. But I love the name change. I think that's really, really helpful. Keep yelling at people too, because I tell people you think you're yelling at people and you are, but you are also training them the way to come to your meetups. I love that you have something regularly every single month because people do like every other week, every other month, and that's really hard to memorize. So having like a solid place for people to come, which is why I wanted to do this even and just say, listen, every if you want me, I'm all over the map. I'm a nutcase. But if you find me, I'm going to carve out like 3 hours on an evening night and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So find me there or chase me, but that's going to be a nightmare. You're going to get nauseous doing that. But yeah, so talk to me a little bit more about, so Squat Up Meetup. I love that it's more clear. I like that you make things so accessible for everybody. I guess the question I want to ask you is you tell me the things that you're going through that you want to talk about, you want to ask me sort of deal. And then I'll tell you other things I want to tell you just because I want to tell you. Yeah.
So last year we did that giveaway with the MacBook. We did a summer, what was it? A summer checklist, summer challenge checklist. And so we got people to be taking action with their business, and different actions got them points towards like the MacBook or the one-on-one session with one of the top wholesalers in Utah, and just different giveaway things. And now I'm to the point where the community is a little bit stronger, and we're trying to decide how we would structure a similar giveaway that fosters working together, that rewards some of that, but isn't so, we don't want it to be like a shoe-in for someone who's just a little more experienced. We do want to make it available for everyone. So we're just trying to think of what qualifications would give you an entry. If we do a challenge, we start it in June and then it goes through maybe mid-August, and then we do a huge party at the end of the year, or end of summer again at the end of August.
I love it. I'm all about, I mean, I know I don't leave my house, but I love a good party. I love celebrating. I love a competition. I love all those things. One thing that I would say, and Melissa, feel free to chime in. Andrea, don't say anything because you're going to overwhelm the conversation with your big ass accent. But the thing I want to say is when you do have a challenge, so I like that. And we went through something similar where, you know, attention to a certain extent wanes, right? When you're doing this shit every day, you kind of have to do something new to keep it spicy and also to wake people up, or something that's specifically tied to somebody. For example, if somebody's doing only multifamily and you're always wholesaling, they're not going to come to your meetups anymore. Even though there might be some cross collaboration, they're going to drop off. So I love the fact that you introduced that. The one warning that I would say is remember what your purpose is. If your purpose is to collaborate, to foster new relationships with people, and at the end of the day, excuse me, I like to curse and say bitch a lot, but bitch, if you're not doing deals, none of that shit matters. You understand? So I would challenge you to find a way to count results, because you should not be doing any of this unless you're having results. One of the things that we would have with Sub to New England, and you go anywhere, like any meetup is totally fun, because at the end of the day, it's like group therapy. You're like, oh my God, the seller traumatized me and said this shit. Oh my God, my agent, I want to choke her neck out, my broker, whatever. And when you get together, you can't talk to anybody about it because nobody speaks the real estate language unless you're doing it. So at one point in time, I used to have like these Zooms like this from like, I think I would start it early at like 4 o'clock, wouldn't end till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because we just like talking about it. And the conversation would be this ebb and flow and this wave of whatever it is we were talking about. But what I would challenge you to do is figure out, and I always talk about being intentional. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your purpose? Because if you can't write that out and have it, very quickly you're going to come up with so many cool, crazy ideas, but not get back to why are we doing it? Did we lose our way? Yeah.
I love that.
One of the things that I'm thinking of is I love to like gamify things. I love healthy competition. I don't want anybody to like lose the prize of, you know, like that's amazing that you had a MacBook, because it does. It gets the juices going, right? But and it's also hard to coordinate a prize like that. It's
I
really
should
hard.
say we're able to get it for free.
That's
It's a
amazing.
refurbished
But
one. So yeah.
the thing that stresses me out is you counting up all the points for people and you being like, okay, this is registered, this isn't registered, this is okay, this person is cheating. You know, it's a mess. And then keeping a scoreboard for everything. All of that stuff is really, really tough. And so my challenge to you, and one of the things that I feel like I tried to work on really hard, because if I'm not able to be there all the time, I become a bottleneck for something. So if I'm not counting out the score, if I'm not telling the rules, so if you can automate as much as possible, that would be great, where you can give them a certain place to go. And again, you're going to feel like you're screaming it because you're going to say it 27 times and it's going to be so fucking annoying. But at some point, they'll get some momentum in them. What I'm thinking of is one of the things that we did on our side is we did games to like better learn stuff about each other. And I write like a whole list of what those look like, because those are fun. We never did like, and I think we did at the end of one year, we did a competition where we said who can get the most amount of contracts by, it was like the week between Christmas and New Year's. And we were like, who can get the most amount of contracts signed? And then the second place winner had to buy the first place winner a gift. That's what it was. So that way we didn't have to like count and tally. But one of the other things that I thought was really nice is throughout the year, I always wanted to have I was in a sorority at one point, if you couldn't tell. I had no business being there. But you know the superlatives like in high school where you're like most developed, biggest growth, most beautiful flip or most social butterfly, whatever the case may be. It might be instead of just being able to give one prize, even having something like that where you're like, listen, I want you to get involved. At the end of the year, we're going to have a party. And you, Biatch, cannot get into that party unless you've done a deal. You need to be part of one deal in 6 months, and you need to be able to prove that. There needs to be a HUD, and you need to show me your teammates or whoever is part of that deal and write down what element of that deal that you did and have somebody else verify it. That's it. But I say bitch too much, but like,
Yeah.
bitch, you can't come to my party. Your ticket into my party is a HUD. So maybe you can even challenge them to be
I
a
love that.
line item on that HUD and say, listen, if your line item name is not on that HUD, you don't get in. You can be a line item to say, she's the TC or, marketing fee, finder's fee, or assignment fee to Becca Brown for $5,000. Or, for example, here in Massachusetts, we have to do smoke alarms. It's a whole thing. And so if I paid for that or if I organized it, I could say 1,000 feet of Becca Brown smoke certificate coordination, or Melissa Ma organize it. We get snow up here. You get snow where you are, right?
We get snow.
Okay, I
We
forget
got
who I
snow
talked to
2 days
at
ago.
times. Yeah, so if you coordinated plowing of snow because we can't get into a house if we can't walk in there, fire marshal won't go. So you got to plow the house out, whatever. I almost think that listen, I'm not trying to hijack your thing. I'm just trying to make your life easier because I love the whole concept of hut up and shut up, right? And if you go back to what are your goals are, biatch, results. If you're not able to make money together, then honey, you didn't squat up. The whole goal is to make money together. How do we prove that we made money together? Well, we have results. And what's the proof of the results is having a HUD. So I'm going to have a big ass party with a bunch of cool people. Obviously, the people that do a bunch of deals are going to be there easily, but I'm going to challenge them to, and maybe that's what you can do, because that's the other thing is I always try to make it incentivizing for like the old people, not old people, but seasoned people to show
Yeah.
up. And maybe what they can do is they can give out the prize for most developed, biggest growth. I always like biggest growth. I always think that's cute.
Yeah.
But like, whatever the case may be, you can come up with the list of prizes and like the top 5 people, top 5 doing the most deals, they're the ones that can present the prize because they know like this person, their development from the beginning deal to like the end deal, they had the most growth, or this person is like a sleeper agent, he showed up on the scene and was able to run all my systems, or, had the biggest impact, whatever the case may be, maybe that's what you can do. But that was something that we worked on a lot here in like sub 2 New England, is making sure that there's new people coming in the door all the time. And for me, I would always say everybody has value to offer. You as a leader, it's your job to figure out what that is and to pull it out of them, right? So if you can get value out of the new people and pull it out and then kind of put it on a silver platter for those people that are like too busy, too fancy to like stop and take time for young people, it's a great way to fuse it together. It's a good reminder that like everybody has value to offer no matter what. Even if you have perspective on like, I was a renter and this was my perspective when my landlord raised the rent and I would have liked it better, I responded better had he done it like this. That might be good for somebody who's a multifamily, business buyer who's about to, acquire something else. So no matter who you are, what walk of life you are, what income level you are, you have something of value to give. And so for me, that was always a challenge in running a group, is making sure all the new people felt comfortable enough to talk and do things, and all the other people, I kept reframing them to make sure they understand everyone has value to offer, and then rewarding them, right? Giving them a reason to come back and participate. Once you have a party, like once everybody's there in the party, everybody wants to play. It's getting people to show up to it, which is why you kind of have to bait them with a free iPad or, a big party at the end, or being on stage, or awards, recognition, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
I love that. I think that solves a couple of my issues of like maybe making it less complicated with the challenge itself and just elevating it with other goals. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn off my camera because
No,
I've got to run and drive my kids. But
you're good. You're good. Come through anytime. Talk to me anytime. Leadership is definitely a part of it. I got to get out that leadership shit. I promised something a year ago and I didn't deliver. And you know me, like Ratchet Susanna saying, well, I'm like, you're gonna get a leadership PowerPoint and you're gonna get a leadership PowerPoint. I'm the worst Oprah ever. I'm a lying Oprah. But I love this conversation. I love this idea. I love having like, it's like the HUD ball. You know what I mean? Or it's like
yeah,
like a HUD ball.
write
I
that
love
down.
it. Anyway, also make sure everybody dresses up because the pictures are so much cuter when everybody dresses up.
Yes, black tie.
Cool.
Love it.
Love it. All right. See you around, Becca Brown. Stay through. Whatever you want to do, you do. Karina, come say hi. You got to unmute. Yes.
Yes.
So Melissa, just so you know, Karina is an agent out of Boston. She's part of the Sub2 Pace Morby group. She's Russian background, right, Karina?
Armenian from Russia. Yes.
Armenian from Russia. That makes things interesting. Melissa Ma is part of a new organization that I'm in. So I'm on a spiritual journey of sorts. I'm more on
Oh,
like self-development. I mean,
yeah,
technically we all should be, but obviously, you know, I went through some things lately that were really tough. And I was like, in my time of need, I need I need as much help as I can get. So I hired a coach who I adore. That's Yun. She's having an event on the 22nd. I think you'd be a great addition to that if you're interested in it. So we can also talk about that.
sure.
But Karina, so I met Melissa Ma at that event. She's a newer agent. She works like 4
Mm.
jobs. And I told her on the spot, I was like, I say bitch a lot, but bitch, if you and I did one flip together, I can replace all your jobs. And so she brought to me a flip. It's not in my neck of the woods. So Melissa, I like to do stuff that's like 45 minutes in my circle because I want to touch it and I want to walk it. And I have a dog that gets car sick, which is the silliest thing, but it's my life. So I don't like to be
What's your
more than
circle
45.
though? Sorry to interrupt. From 45 minutes from what's the
Merrimack. I love
Merrimack? Okay.
that. Merrimack. Where are you located?
Me?
Worcester? Yeah.
Oh, so I teach in Malden, but I live in Quincy. So I can be anywhere within 45 minutes of a drive.
You
Either
live in
North Shore.
Quincy?
Yeah.
That's right, you do. Did you go to the last Jonathan Santiago meetup?
Yeah. In Braintree.
I love it. Yeah. So he's from Quincy. He just was over in Lawrence for a hot minute while he was flipping a Quincy condo, and now he's back. So he runs things out of Quincy. Are you live in Quincy? You live
Yeah.
in Quincy.
Yep. I live in
love
Quincy.
I love Malden too. Malden's a great place to flip. Also Lowe's outlet is there and that's like my candy shop. I love that place. Like every time I go, I'm always like, everybody's gonna get a new fridge because everything's like 75, 85% off. Okay, cool. And I love that you're out in Quincy because I have a couple of how far is Pembroke from you?
Pembroke is about 30 to 40 minutes away.
Okay, so not terrible, but also not close. And
Yeah.
then Karina, where are you? I just know you to be in Boston.
Yeah, so I'm in Newton. I live in Newton, I should say, but I
Oh, that's
used to
good.
have an office in Brookline, which basically is like 20 minutes away from where I live, but
Yeah,
I switched to Real Broker. So now it's cloud-based. So technically I'm registered in Boston, but
yeah,
my MO has been basically anywhere within like 45-minute to an hour drive up from Boston. So
yeah.
I've covered, mostly greater Boston, but occasionally I would go to North Shore, South Shore, or even Worcester. Obviously there's a lot of potentials for investments. Springfield just popped up on my radar, and my client was saying, "Hey, what do you think is the better part of Springfield?" I'm like, "Oh God, I have no idea." So I started researching that.
So
Who do I speak to?
the person you need to talk to, anytime you think of Springfield, there's only 2 people you need to talk to. Who
Yeah,
are they? You tell me who they are.
I don't know. I feel like I know their faces because there was a flyer, but I don't know the name.
Describe them to me then.
Well, I think they were black guys, but I don't.
But is this black guy muscular?
I think so, but no, I don't
Okay,
know.
I know exactly who you're talking about. It's the wrong black guy. I don't,
Okay.
my black guy is shorter with blue eyes,
Oh,
50
oh,
years old. He doesn't look like it because black don't crack. Okay, so you need to know Anthony McTizick.
okay. I know the name. I
Anthony
don't think that.
McTizick is literally like 1 or 2 sub 2 New England. He was like the first or second person in sub 2 New England. He's been around the block, obviously, because he's 50. Remind him often that he's 50 because he thinks he's 30, and he is a handsome guy and he likes
When
to,
you're
he knows that.
50, when you're 50, I would love to for us to have this conversation. I'm not 50 yet either, but I just
Oh,
know for the
easily.
fact that you're going to be convinced that you're 30 and something went wrong. You'll be like, I am definitely 30. I am not.
Yeah, just be like, you must be Anthony McTizick. Suzanne said you're 55 and clearly you look 55. Anyway, I'll introduce you to him via text. So you send me a
Thank
text
you.
message that says, introduce me to Anthony McTizick. And then the other one you need to know about is Matt Slowick. Do you know who he is?
I feel like I do, but we don't have like a communication channel that, it's like a
He's
ongoing.
wonderful. So Matt Slowick is called a dinkwad. He and I have the same dog. His dog and my dog are brothers. So I literally adopted dogs with him. Hi, Greg Tuck. We'll talk about him. That's my PI over there. And also my sugar daddy in a weird way. You look good. You need to come off mute if you want to talk. But Matt Slowick, no, he's a white boy from Springfield. He knows
Okay.
every single street like the back of his hand. You could ask him, and you can be like 23 Chestnut Street, and he'll tell you garbage. He'll even tell you like 23 Chestnut Street because like the road is so long, it might go 100 to 1. He'll tell you which side of the street is garbage because of the hood and because of the shooting out there. I think Melissa, do you know who Smith & Wesson is? It's a gun company. I'm pretty sure as soon as you pull off the highway, it's like, we are the capital of gun production. And you're just like, ugh, gross. Anyway, Springfield, Massachusetts, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So Springfield, Massachusetts, it's right over the border of Connecticut. It's kind of like a hub like Worcester, Springfield, and then Boston kind of to a certain extent. So people do invest there. Karina, did you get a lead from New Western for like 140,000? No, I just saw the deal for like 140,000 out there. So, but those are the two people. You send me a text message that says, introduce me to Matt Slowick, and then introduce me to Anthony McTizick. Those are the two guys that you need for anything Smithfield. Don't go anywhere else. And there's a reason why I tell you don't go anywhere else, because there's three things that are really important to me: excellence, integrity, and then people that are wanting to become better people overall. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Greg, you look so skinny, I can barely see you. And by
Oh,
skinny,
you flatter me.
I mean, you look so muscular.
Oh, you flatter me. You flatter me too much. Thank you.
So Karina, you might have heard me talk about Greg Tuck from time to time. He's from Texas. He just lost 50 pounds because he's so mentally on top of his shit right now. And then on top of it, he's like a savant when it comes to like private investigation. And I don't even know how to tell this story, but he can find anybody. He can find the unfound. He found, when I lived in Rhode Island, he found my 80-year-old neighbor's crush from high school. She's Armenian. Wait a minute. No, she's not. Is she? She might be. I don't know. I got to ask. Armenian, didn't even give me a full name, was like Paula Chikowski, but that was her maiden name. And then they're immigrants. They were renters, so they didn't own any property. I don't even know how. Can you explain the story, how you found them? If you even remember how you found them?
Yeah, their last name was Charkutian.
Yes.
Charkutian.
Armenian.
Amazing memory. This is like a year and a half ago. Anyway.
They met at a New Year's party around where they're from. So basically what I did is I started running a check in that area in the schools for the last name Charkutian, and I found her older sister. When I found her older sister, I found out that she graduated from that school, and I knew she was an adult in the area. So I started kind of looking around the public records for anybody with that last name in the area. It was her sister. I followed her sister all the way to California. I believe she owns a restaurant out there. And whenever, I know her sister's age from whenever she was born from public census records because it was so long ago. And when I found out where she lived, all I had to do was run a skip on her and cross-reference it with her sister. But the secret to the sauce was just going to the high school records and finding the old yearbooks and going through them and finding that last name. And that's how I found out how to spell it as well. But yeah, it was a weird ass name.
Is that something that you did or do like now? Like, is that like a main job or like a hobby? Like how?
Oh, so the reason that I did it, oh well, I did it for Suzanne as a favor. She was just like, if anybody can find this lady, it's you. I need your help because this guy
Yeah.
wants me to take him to the cops so he can figure it out. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a crack. Let me see what you got. And she gives me this bullshit ass spreadsheet with like 3 lines of information. It's not even a last name. It's like, I think this is how you spell the name. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. All
I
right.
gave him, I probably gave him worse stuff to throw. So my neighbor for years, I go in, he has almost the same conversation, which is terrible. He's like, Suzanne, I hate my wife. I should never married her. Don't ever leave your house, live with your parents forever, like blah, 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 all the time. So we would go through cycles of like, hi, Sammy, how are you? And then at some point he would tell me this. I don't know if it's early onset Alzheimer's, but it went on for like a year. And it got to a point where every time I would think about it, because I had known Tuck at that point, I was like, I should ask him. And I was like, nah, he's going to forget about it. Like, maybe this is not a thing anymore, whatever the case may be. But for like a straight year, he asked me. And I was like, Greg, I'm sorry to do this. But you're the only person I can think of. There's nobody that can do this. I have barely anything to give you. But if you could make this old man happy, this I don't even know how to say it, charcuterian, we don't know how to spell that. And just so you know, before I even gave you stuff, Greg, because I'm not the person to like give you something half baked, I tried, my own ass tried, and I couldn't get it done because I couldn't find it. And I went through like all the yearbooks. They have yearbooks that are archived that you can find like the people by the name. And then like it's Haverhill, like she went to Haverhill High School or something. What is it, like 20, 30 people in that class, and her name is Lillian? Couldn't find her.
Haverhill.
Yeah.
Haverhill. It was Haverhill, Connecticut, I believe.
Yeah. Did you see the message she said from Becca Brown in the chat?
Oh my
Listen,
God.
this man gets paid to find people because he can find the impossible. I
Amazing.
swear to God, he has access to like, if I was to give him I gave him a license plate for somebody and he'll look it up. I don't even know how you have access to that.
You just gotta, I don't know.
Okay, you don't need to give your secrets away.
I don't know.
All you need to know is if you want to find somebody, it's Greg Tuck. So he lives out in Texas. He works with, I always say his name wrong, Kennedy Clapp.
It's Kinley Camp. Kinley
Yeah,
Camp. But his name is Doty. Kinley Doty.
Kenley Doty.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm actually at his house right now. These are his dogs.
the
So
two of them, the two of them were like their claim to fame story is they had the largest wholesale fee in all of sub two for the longest time. I want to say it's like 500,000, 700,000, but it was crazy. It was a land deal that they did. But he's wonderful. He's out there in Texas, super helpful. And then I met him because he was part of I don't know if you've heard of REI Sift. You probably have at this point, list stacking, REI Sift.
Mm-mm.
No. Anyway, people get lists of things. So they'll get like a property that has absentee owner. You can find like, the owner of the property, but then the mailing address is not the same as the property address. So then oh, that's an absentee owner. And then if the address is out of state, then it's out of state absentee owner. And if you take that list and you add it to another list of like code violations or whatever, tax liens, then you can figure out, oh my God, like it's list stacking. So not only is this guy not in state, not only does this guy not live in the property, but he owes this much in taxes and he just got in trouble for not cutting his grass. That's the person that you want to call first because it's the most amount of pain. So that's how I first found Greg Tuck, is because he's like a savant at REI Sift. So it's like you and Kenley. There's a D in there that I keep messing, but Kennedy, and like one other that run this team, and the three of them kill it. Wonderful people. So they ended up doing like at one point they were like, if you need help finding somebody, we'll help you. And then I jumped on, and that's when I first met them. But wonderful people, part of Sub 2, actually.
Love it.
Yeah.
Greg, do you give out your phone numbers or email addresses or Instagram accounts, or how do
Yeah.
people find you?
I'll drop everything in the chat. I mean, I guess there's like, there's only 3 other ones of us. I'm getting a phone call, but I'll drop it in there. It's an important phone call.
No, it's fine. You do you. Karina, I would encourage you, find him on Instagram. Everybody's on Instagram, so you don't need their number.
Okay.
Yep. So chase him down there, but Greg Tuck. And then the other reason why I like him so much is his tagline in the beginning is like, I pay cash for houses and I eat ass. Like after whatever he would talk about, he'd be like, oh, by the way, I also eat ass. And I was like, are you serious right now? Like, you're gonna put that out there? But it cracked me up. His company is called Big Peach Holdings, and peaches are synonymous with ass. So I was like, oh, I'm into it. You, be proud. I'm into it. Anyway, Greg Tuck from Texas. Wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually already follow him on Instagram. I just never knew that that's him.
Yeah. So feel free to say hi. Greg, what are you up to today? You got anything percolating? Always on the phone. All right, skip. All right, Karina, so you
Okay.
wanted to work on, you have a presentation. So Karina calls me, she leaves me an escapade voice message of the things that she wants to work on. But one of the things that she wants to work on is a PowerPoint. And if you don't mind, I'll bring up the PowerPoint. And then Melissa, what do you want to work on tonight?
I want to work on just learning more about like sub 2 and things like that.
Perfect, perfect.
I don't know. We talked at our other meeting and I want to reach that financial stability.
Yes, I love it. All right, you can see my screen, right? I'm taking garbage notes from tonight so I can do something with it later.
Yes, we can see him.
I think it's fitting that you want to learn about like creative finance stuff because technically that's what Karina is trying to do. So she has a buyer over in New Hampshire. Karina, are you okay if I bring this up?
Yeah. So it's actually, just to give full context, so it's actually my colleague who wants to buy a house for himself. So he's a realtor. He is a very shy realtor. I call us shy before we start learning all this creative stuff because we just feel like, oh my God, what is this? So he said to me that he's considering this house and he really just doesn't know how to talk about it with the seller. And so I said, okay, let's just walk through what are some of the considerations, like what do we share with the seller versus what do you need to understand to really own the subject, right? Like me as well, I'm learning. So I basically just started like doing like a PPT file, just saying, okay, versus, bank loan versus like creative, what problems are we solving? Like, here's a quick video from Peace. Here's like we don't have any information there yet, but basically, like what is the snapshot of this property, right? Like where is it located? What are the area amenities? What are the exit strategies you're thinking about, etc. Just to even like just take a stab at it, right? And then tweak it as you maybe learn more, right? So that's this thing that just to collect information. And then I figured, I just like show the seller if the seller wants to say, okay, what's the difference, right? And I might say, well, there's usually going to be 3 sort of typical buyers, right? Sources. So you're probably looking at like either listing it on MLS or selling it, cash, quote unquote, right, to a wholesaler, let's say, an investor, or seller financing, right? And I just kind of wanted to highlight how seller financing really allows you to be so much, just what do you call it? Not generous, what I'm calling it. Like it allows a buyer to be more generous with you, right? Because first of all, they're not paying exorbitant fees to the bank, interest rates wise. There's no commission involved, so there's just more room there. So I don't know if this is what I'm going to stick with. But by the way, Suzanne, that little thing that says the heading, the property at New Hampshire, if you click on that, it opens an Excel spreadsheet where I've played with a couple of things, and that might be useful too. Yeah, just to kind of like, it just helps me think, like I just can't really like think in abstract. So like, so I was like saying, okay, if MLS listing versus seller financing, right? So if you put even like $15,000 down payment, which is actually about 3% maybe, or 4% or something, right? So what does that look like? And if you negotiate 4% interest, and let's say maybe like a 40-year amortization versus like a 30-year amortization, but let's say there's a balloon payment in 10 years or 5 years, right? Like, what does that look like? And does it make everybody happy, basically?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
This is really tough. So Melissa, I'm just going to preface you with this. So sub 2 is a cute term that was popularized by a guy named Pace Morby. He's not the first to do it at all, but essentially what it is you buy a property subject to the existing financing. So you as an agent, she's an agent too, but you as an agent, right, when you buy a property, not only do you have to find the house, but then you got to go out and make sure you have the mortgage to pay for that house, which is why people go out and get pre-approved so they know how much money they can spend, and then they go shopping for the house so that it lines up. What ends up happening is you can even drop the whole mortgage piece of it as long as you find the house that you want if there's a mortgage already attached to that house, rather than you coming and bringing a new mortgage, you just pay for the existing mortgage. That can be really, really dangerous for banks though, because what ends up happening is when you buy the property, you want to control the property. That's the whole reason why you buy it and not rent it. So when you buy it, the name on the property changes. However, if you keep the old mortgage in place, the name on it does not change. And that's a very dangerous place for the banks to be in, because if you stop paying the mortgage at any point in time, their whole thing is they're going to come for the house. That's the asset, right? But if the names are different, it's very hard for them to come for that house. So that's why like they don't like it, which is why we have this big thing called the due on sale clause, which is if at any point in time the banks find out that the names don't match up, sometimes what they'll do is they'll come after the homeowner fast or whoever, and they'll try to force you to pay everything all at once. And that's not what we want to do, because that's why we bought the house with the mortgage together, because we don't want to pay for everything full cash. Cash is king, and most people don't have it. You're not supposed to have cash. It's supposed to be invested always. But anyway, so that first got popularized, and then that becomes like the flagship or like the number one thing people learn about. But there's so many other things that you can do. And so the big umbrella is called creative finance. And this is really hard because, Karina, the better you get at it, the better you will be, without question, which is why everyone wants to know how to do creative finance, everything. They want to know. But to learn it is really fucking hard. So Melissa, at a point in time, if you're like, I want to blow my brains out, you're not the first and you're not the last. It's going to be inch by inch. And I usually tell people, like, I was a good Korean girl and I studied all the things I was supposed to study. And I like, you know, I was a lurker. So in the background, I'm reading everything and I'm like, oh my God, be careful of this, be careful of that. And then you get to a point where it's your time to do it. And I fucking forgot everything. Like I forgot my own name. I didn't know what to do and I panicked. And so coming to these meetings like every week and being able to talk to my friends like a sounding board and just be like, this is what I'm doing and I don't know how to move next. And they're like, what are you talking about? You just do this. And I'm like, oh, right. Oh, let me go do that. You forget. But if you do it, which is why I call it walking the fire, if you ever do it one time, then you know what you're doing. And so that's why for me, like the number one important thing is if we get together on meetings or if we have meetups, the only thing we should be doing, number one, of course, we're going to be friends. Everybody knows that. But if you are not doing deals, you don't have value. You have value when you do deals because you're going to learn all the nitty gritty, terrible things that happen. You're going to learn the secrets of how to make things happen. You're going to figure out who can do real shit and who can't do real shit. Right? So that's why it's so important for you to just jump in the fire and get your stripes, as I call it. So just be careful that if we're doing like a textbook session on like talking about things, it's a lot. And so that's the other thing that I think, Karina, like I'm so with you when it comes to an Excel sheet, but you and I, we might be what's called a C-type personality, which is we're like the accountants. We calculate, we can see things and this makes sense to us. For another person who's like the creative artsy type, dude, they need a picture. Like none of this is going to make their brain bleed. This makes zero sense to them. And also it's really overwhelming. So most people, sorry, oops. That's also why you want to be on these calls, because everybody goes to decline message. Sorry, because I'm always doing something. Anyway, so let's go all the way back, Karina, for this one thing. Are you trying to create a presentation just for this one friend, just so he can get this house? Or are you trying to prepare like a generic presentation that you can recycle over and over? I know you also talked about wanting to have like courses for other agents so that they better understand it and can bring you something.
So this, I'm using this as a case study, right? So it would be specific to this property, but it just kind of would kind of paint the larger picture, right? Because I feel like I'm introducing this concept. And if I feel like, let's say we sit down with the seller and he kind of gets it, like we don't need to be spelling things out as much, maybe, then we just skip those slides, right? So like, you know, here I just, you know, this is kind of a generic statement, right? Like you want to have this people on your team, yada, yada, right?
Yeah.
So I'm playing with this, like I have not finished, but I feel like once I guess I have like a real conversation with, let's say, this particular seller, maybe I'll maybe my realization is going to be that basically none of it is needed. Like I could almost like guess that, like you said, right? Maybe the seller is going to be like, listen, what's the bottom line? What are you going to give me every month?
What does it mean for me? Because they don't care. They understand what you're trying to do, but they're like, I don't give a shit about John and Paul and Susie, like for me, how much money do I get? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like, the main thing that I feel like I need to, I mean, with everybody, you establish a rapport, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's a buyer or seller, you establish a rapport and you ask people, what are they trying to accomplish, right? So if they say that, for example, the seller, if he says that I need a chunk of money because I need to go and put it somewhere else, right? So then maybe you need a private money lender, right? To actually give you the chunk of money, right? And maybe you refi within foreseeable future. But if they say, yeah, I couldn't care less, I just need to get out of here, and I just, I would be happy with like an annuity, basically, let's say $2,000 a month, right, for whatever period of time, and that's what they really need, right? Maybe they don't need all those other details. They just need to know that they're going to receive $2,000 from you with a balloon payment at this point, right? Everybody's happy. But of course, like with proper paperwork, and they might ask, who's going to do the paperwork, right? So I better have my attorney in mind, or my transaction coordinator and attorney. So I feel like I need to like practice just talking about how is that going to go? Like, what's the next step,
Mm.
right?
I feel like you are so trained to be an agent because like if I was
And
a
an auditor.
broker- yeah. Because if I was a broker, I would want any agent of my firm or what is it, agency, to know exactly that. Like I would want you to be pixel perfect, that when somebody asks you a question, you go out and get the answer. So one of the things, and I'll talk about this. So I'm part of the Massachusetts Probate Pros. I work with a couple of men and we do this. And one of the things that we're trying to put out, and this was something that happened like 2 years ago to me. I did a sub 2 for like a guy who had an alcohol problem. And it was fine. And his sister was like his caretaker and took care of everything. And then when it got closer to the sale, because this was like 6 months into it, another sister popped up and then threw like a wrench in all the plans and started questioning and things. And at that point, they dropped this word called scam, and it like hurt my heart big time. And so one of the things that also happens is credibility. And so when I think about even doing any of this stuff, rather than you trying to teach people what you do, because again, this is going to be really fucking hard for you to even learn. It's going to, I wasn't good until like 8 months. And even 8 months, that was only good at one product. Now, 3 years later, I'm only good at like one product still. I'm not even good at like, 3 or whatever. I'm only good at one thing. And they talk to you like who, not how. So I'm not supposed to be good at fucking all this other shit. I don't want to be good at it, but I do dabble and I do try. But going back, I would say almost leverage what Pace has already put out there, because he has a lot of stuff and he has a whole like $1 million marketing team, right? And Melissa, you can go on YouTube anytime and like access any of this stuff. But when people talk about creative finance or sub 2, they want to know that it's like it can be done. And this isn't like the first time you're doing it. You're not like just throwing shit down a tube and hoping that it sticks. And so even when like if I go and speak about something, I'll always reference like Pace Morby's YouTube channel, because not only was I a student of it, but it's all there. All this back work has already been done. So let's take a look. So over here, Melissa Ma, Pace Morby, that I actually found him. I was driving my Tesla for however long I was doing, and I was listening to podcasts. And one of my favorite podcasts was like real estate stuff. And one of them I think was like the Rhino Tribe. And then one day Pace was on it, and I was like, oh my God, this is it for me. But like mentally, like I get him on a mental level. So anyway, come over here to Pace Morby, 289,000 subscribers. Anything that you could have possibly wanted to teach somebody has already been done, Karina, right? So you can be like, okay, joint venture, whatever, Squad of Secrets, but go down to his older videos even, because now this is a lot of stuff that people want to click on and maybe are learning about. But buying another house after subject 2, or Pace Morby, let's do Pace Morby seller finance. Let's see how many videos he has just on seller finance. And then not only him, but other people who are teaching this kind of stuff have it. What is seller finance creative real estate explained, right? How much easier is it, instead of creating your own PowerPoint, just to give this video that has 103,000 viewers on it? It's a year old, which means it's newer, and it's only 18 minutes long.
It's in my presentation.
Oh, easy. I would just give that, honestly. So if you wanted to do, you can snapshot it too, but one of the things that I try to focus on is I tell people like, don't recreate shit that other people have already done. It's already out there. There's no reason that you need to say it from your mouth. You can easily leverage all of Pace's clout, all of his credibility, all of his background, knowledge, experience to be able to plant the seed. Once the seed is planted and the seller wants to move forward, that's when you need to start problem solving everything. Because you right now might be a person who's problem solving in anticipation of what's going to come down the road later on. And it's good work to do in the back, but I promise you, you're not going to remember any of it. You're not going to retain it. But if you walk the fire and actually said, listen, I'm committed to you. I'm committed to getting you exactly what you want. But you have to tell me what that is, and we have to be reasonable, because you can ask for $1 bajillion, but if that's not reasonable, I can't get it for you. But if you're asking for something reasonable, I can get you whatever it is that you're reasonably asking for, and I will give you the best of everything that I have to offer. And if I don't know the answer, I will find somebody who can, because I roll in a network that's like, right now, a sub 2 is like 12,000 people deep. And at some point in time, if you have a question on writing a note or, cross collateralizing something, you can find it within that group.
Agree.
Yeah, so because I've been here before. Everybody and their mother is trying to create like some sort of email or some sort of like leave behind pamphlet that says like, hey, welcome to the world of seller finance. Storytelling is another good one. So Pace, when he talks about his seller finance, he always talks about the car example, because sometimes people can't understand a large purchase like a house, like you can and Melissa can, because you both are agents. Right? So if you speak to them in a way that they understand the vocabulary, then it makes it a little bit easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
For your friend, do you know like what he's trying to buy exactly?
No, I don't have the address. It's a single family house, and I think he wants to use this seasonal rental. So I kind of gave him just a couple of things to think about, including researching it's in New Hampshire. So I said, do you know the rental rates? Do you understand the like the amenities, and have you looked at like different websites like Airbnb, just to see like the competition, and just kind of gauge the value basically, because like it's very banal, right? But I mean, a lot of times people say, oh, well, if I buy at this price, it's going to cost me this much, for a mortgage or whatever, they sell a financing loan. But, they're not counting all these other things, or they're not putting aside maybe like $100 for the maintenance, or, so there's just a lot of little pieces that I feel like you should think about, and then make sure his rental income is going to cover this. So
Yeah.
he's not panicking.
Marina, what's your goal in all of this? What are you after?
So I think I just needed to walk myself through the process.
I'm not talking about this one thing. I'm talking about you as a person. Why do you do any of this? What's your end goal? What are you working towards?
So I want to start investing myself.
Okay. What kind
And
of
I have
investing?
yeah, so this is a good question that I need to answer. So on the one hand, I'm drawn to the multifamily, but I feel like it's not like an immediate thing that I should jump into, because I just don't feel like I really know enough. But then, if I just because I buy, let's say, a duplex at some point and make it an midterm rental, is that really going to bring me closer to multifamily? Not really.
What's
So I
your
feel like,
definition of multifamily?
so something bigger, something like, maybe like 30 units or more, ideally, because I'm thinking that if I can learn my way into a 30 unit, I feel like I'm not gonna waste a lot of time on smaller, because I feel like I only have so much bandwidth. So I'm concerned about having busy work with the smaller complex, where maybe like I get slightly burned out, because that definitely am prone to that. So I'm thinking
Why do you like multifamily?
it just makes more sense with economies of scale. It just feels like you have good leverage, whether you're hiring a property management company that will have more income and therefore serve you better. Because I feel like property management companies are not interested in smaller units, or don't do maybe as good of a job, although all of this is relevant. So and I just feel like, I'm going to have a bigger appreciation on a bigger asset, basically.
Okay.
And especially if there's value to be added. So I just feel like it will just amplify better, because I could improve value,
So
basically.
let me ask you this. So you want to be a multifamily investor. Yes, you have some anxiety and insecurities as to whether or not that's the path for you. But out of all the other things that you've seen, you like that makes sense to you and you want to do it. And you just need to overcome the part of, I'm not sure that I can do it, which you can. That's easy. how does you doing this deal with a friend help you get to multifamilies?
I'm not doing this deal. I'm actually just like literally learning through it and just enabling or encouraging him to do this for himself. I just want to help him basically.
Okay, so you want to help him, but the question still remains, how does this help you get to where you want to go?
I guess it's just, like the wrap of, seeing something happen that just kind of gives me more confidence in having another conversation and leaning on this example, saying, okay, we just did this, in New Hampshire, yada, yada. Just like every time that I feel like you have a new conversation with a new person and they say, well, how would that work? And what could go wrong, right? And you could say, well, when we did it here, right, there's always that sort of point of reference, which I
Okay,
know is again, it's very relative. All of this is relative, but
yeah.
it just gives me a little more confidence, I think.
So anybody can speak freely. You're more than welcome to speak freely. I'm gonna speak freely. You might not like what I'm gonna say. And what I'm gonna say is, if at the end of the day, your ultimate goal is to be a multifamily investor, right? And right now you have this fear of, I don't know how to actually do that. You doing anything but figuring that out is not of service to you. It
Mm.
might make you feel busy, right? You might feel accomplished, but you're treading water. You're not going anywhere. And I think there's a part of you that says, I don't want to do a single family rental because I'm worried I'm going to get bogged down in things. However, if I help my friend do one and I learn by watching my friend do one, then technically I don't have the risk of doing it on my own. I think I'm going to learn when he does it. And that's going to make me somehow more competent to do a multifamily, which is not the case at all.
So
So
can I, yeah, so go ahead.
even though you're a generous person that wants to help your friend, and this might be like good homework practice, it's not good homework practice because it's like, if you want to be a world-class chef, this is like you learning how to groom a dog. And like, yes, there might be like cross collaboration skills involved, but this is not the world you want to be in. You don't want to be in Airbnb world. You don't want to be in like single family residential flipping world. You want to be in the multifamily game. So if that's your goal, if that's where you want to be, I can promise you that if you spent like 3 months, 4 months, 6 months down the line, if you look back on this, you'd be like, I'm not happy that I spent my time on this because this didn't get me to where I wanted to go, because I'm serious about wanting multifamily. And if I'm serious about wanting multifamily, I got to do things that are even in the multifamily realm. Whether it's you go to meetings rather than you spending time creating this, maybe
Right.
you should be spending time going to multifamily meetings. So with that said, who are the multifamily people that you might know about that you should maybe hang out with or do shit with? Or, you can do math problems like, right, you can put like, let's say they did a presentation, they have a PowerPoint and you're like, listen, I'm going to take your whole PowerPoint, I'm going to throw it into an Excel sheet and I can create some sort of Excel presentation for your multifamily thing. So who are the people that are actually in multifamily that live within that ecosystem that you want to be a part of? Who are those people?
I have memory issues, but one of the people that pops up is Ify.
I love her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very sweet. I mean, she invited me to the multifamily Dream Chasers, right? Whatever. I think it's something along those lines. So I've been to a few of their weekly presentations, and I just cannot remember their names for whatever reason. My brain doesn't work very well sometimes. But I haven't been to physical events. I have gone to many, I guess, multifamily conversations at this point, like Zooms, and I feel like I'm learning a lot, but you are 100% correct that I'm not exclusively focused on it. And I think, honestly, part of the reason is because I'm just not like truly yet decided, maybe because, like I see different people taking different paths, right? And some people start with wholesale and some, and then maybe transition to like a smaller Airbnbs, like you said. And then sometimes, they turn them into midterm rentals, yada, yada. And it just feels like all of this stuff could very much be a great and interesting thing to learn, right? And I'm sure it is. It's just that, I don't have like a team yet necessarily where like this part of the team is doing this part is doing that. But I do have interest and appetite for all of these things because I feel like, if I see an opportunity and I can act on it to buy, let's say, a duplex, maybe I should, right? Maybe that's the property that I'll keep for the next 30 years and turn it into multifamily. Oh, sorry, midterm rental, sorry. Which I'm more interested in than Airbnbs that much, I think I figured out. But it's still, so I'm still like, I'm not so clear, really. Like
So
in 3 years from now, 5 years from now, like what does that portfolio look like, right? Is it just a bunch of, a bunch of however many multifamily complexes, and
yeah.
it's producing this much income, or am I really, besides producing X amount of income and feeling comfortable, am I also on a quest to build a lot of skills and share a lot of skills and cross-pollinate, right? Because it is all interesting objectively. Like this whole thing with Peace where he's encouraging, right? Like his whole like owners club, right? He's saying, let's just own businesses, right? And to me, it's like it's a horrifying idea. I'm like, I can just own some business that I know little about.
You today is a horrifying idea. Me today, also horrifying idea. I want
I know.
nothing to do with that shit. Get it away from me. What I would
Yeah.
tell you is it's funny, Iffy, I had the same conversation with her years ago because she was like, I'm multifamily. And then she was like wholesaling like a raggedy house over in Worcester. And I'm like, the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? What's more important to you? So at the end of the day, you have to try something. You strike me as a person very similar to me, a little bit analysis paralysis because you are so smart. You're smart.
100%.
You got all your spreadsheets. You want to make a calculated move. But at the end of the day, you will not know for sure unless you walk the fire. Once
Right.
you do it, you're going to be like, that shit was whack. I never want to go back. I'm never going to do that in my fucking life, which is why, like, where I'm at right now is I flip houses. I never thought, if you asked me 3 years ago, would I be doing this? No, because my butthole would be so tight. I couldn't shit out anything because I'd be so scared, right? But as time went on, I got mad. So you work through phases. You think like, okay, this part of wholesaling makes sense to me. Melissa, do you know what wholesaling is?
I was gonna ask that. I was trying to do a little
No, it's
background
okay.
research, but
So think about wholesaling. Like wholesaling is literally like kind of like on market stuff. So it's just off market. It's off market and kind of like rather than having an agent where an agent gets like so you guys get like 3%, 2.5 to 3% commission, but then you split it with your brokerage depending upon what your arrangement is. Instead of doing all that, they're like, listen, for $10,000, I'll find you a shitty house. So the $140,000 house that you brought me, because you're an agent, technically you would get a commission if you represented me as the whatever, right? But if this is off market, there is no agent commission anymore. But what I can do is I can pay you a fee, whether it's 5,000, and we pay fees, we don't do commissions on it. So we'll pay you like 10,000, 5,000, 15,000, depending upon however much. So there's even a portion of like, so wholesaling literally is you're acting as an agent without actually being an agent. And I'm going to pay you a flat fee instead of paying you a commission. And most of the stuff is off market because on market stuff, buyers are more demanding. They want something nicer, more rent ready. Then you get people that are selling like doo-doo houses because they're like, fuck it, I can't find somebody who wants my doo-doo house. Let me just put it on the market and figure it out. But it's sometimes embarrassing when you're like, this is my house and it's doo-doo. All my neighbors know about my doo-doo house and they can see inside it. It can be embarrassing. Go ahead.
my other question was, I'm relatively new to the real estate world. How does one find off-market listings?
Talk to people. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. At the end of the day, wholesalers are tough cookies because they are trying to out hustle agents. So you as agents, you have a great like marketing channel, which is you have a brokerage where people are not like, oh, I got to sell a house. Let me call this brokerage and they're going to, match make me with an agent, right? If you have no background. For you to be a wholesaler, you got to out hustle that because you have nothing. It's off market. You don't have a brokerage, you got nothing. So what people do is they put the signs where it's like, I will buy your house as is for cash. They look on Facebook Marketplace, they look on Craigslist, they do there's driving for dollars. So you go around and you find a house. And this is embarrassing when you go, hi, your house is so shitty. Can I buy it? Because clearly you don't want it or you can't take care of it because you're doing a terrible job. That's a tough conversation to have. So those people will do calls, text messages, direct mails. The guys that I'm with, they do emails is what they do. They do cold email outreach and they do a very good job of that. They also do direct mail, but wholesale is, and it's a hustle, which it's a really tough place to be, which is why when Iffy was in it, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Iffy is, she is a pharmacist. She
Mhm.
works in a pharmacy and she's a single mom of
3
like
children.
3. Yeah, in Worcester. And then she also wants to change her house because she didn't like it. And so I asked her, I was like, which one's more important? You finding a new primary residence sub 2 or you doing multifamily? And she ended up figuring out it's supposed to be multifamily for her. And then she took off with it, which is awesome. So coming all the way back down to Karina, if you want to be in, if you want to be in, if you want to do obviously something, you have to do something. You helping out your friend is cute, but it's not you doing something. It's a different world. It's a different speed when you do something. So whether you wholesale your own deal, whether you're an agent and you're representing something and selling a house, that's another thing. Whether you being a project manager for a client and doing rehab and then them giving you the listing, whether you fix and flip yourself, whatever the case may be, you have to do something. And if you think that, you know, you're either going to choose two things, what you're capable of right now might not be where you want to go, but you might be like, this is digestible for me, which for me was wholesaling. Or the other option is I want to do multifamily and I don't know how to figure it out, but let me get around the people that do it. And why don't I become part of their team when they do a deal? So let's talk about people that are actually doing multifamily on the scale that you want to do multifamily. And then the definition of multifamily is going to be something with a commercial loan. So anything 1 to 4 units is underneath a residential loan, even though it's a multifamily. So 2 to 4 is multifamily residential. We can skip that. You want to be in 5+ doors. You're into a commercial loan for a multifamily. And then people go anywhere from 30 doors to 100 to like 500 at a time, which is ridiculous. But that's their business. And one day I would like to be a multifamily too, but for like brick. So Ife Aosh, oops, I hope I spelled that right. She's in, and her group is called Multifamily Dreamers. Melissa, Ma, I'm going to put together like a directory for us. So anytime like I reference somebody, there's a spreadsheet that you can go to and like talk to these people. You should also be able to find them on Instagram. So anybody that I mentioned should be on Instagram and you can hit them up and you can be like, yo, Suzanne said I need to talk to you. Or I had a conversation with Suzanne and she mentioned this about you. I'm hoping to connect on this specific thing. But if
Yeah, that
Aosh is
spreadsheet
one,
would work. That spreadsheet would really help because I've been writing down all the names that you like everyone has been mentioning.
yeah.
So
So you can see my screen, right?
yeah.
I have built directories. Where is my directory? I don't know. All right, let me see Yun. So Yun, I was telling you, I was helping her build out her creative business league as she goes forward. And so I sent her an email of like all the other people that I made shit for. Okay, not in that account. So let's see, Yun. Let's see. No, not in that one. Oh, it's in this one. I can feel it. Oh, there it is. Community directory. All right, so these are examples of other directories that I've made. Each one is different, right? So I usually make it within a Google form. I sweat the shit out of Google. I love them. They're free all the time. So this is an example of Sub to New England. So Sub to New England was my group for like 3 years ago. Okay. And essentially this is our directory. So in our directory, you have all these questions, your first name, last name, primary market. And once you fill that out, you get populated into this spreadsheet and it's all automated. So as soon as somebody puts in their stuff, then everybody can see it. And the reason why I also made this one is because we had a huge one, but it was so unstandardized. And also my geography is fucking terrible. So if you tell me like I'm in Tuscan, I'm like, I don't know where that is. I don't even know if that's in America. Are you, and if you say New York City, like I know that one, but like anywhere else, so you're like, I'm in Albany. I'm like, bro, where are you under the sea? Like, I just don't know. You got to tell me like somewhere. Anyway, so I made this whole spreadsheet out to help us find each other. And then the other cool thing is I like spreadsheets like Karina likes spreadsheets. And I can't edit this one yet because it's view only. So sorry, I can't do that. But I used to make notes like what day we joined in Discord. I put us all in like local territories. I had 5 different territories, but our first and last name, your primary market is it Maine, Massachusetts, and then if you had a place in Massachusetts, like let's say I do Eastern Massachusetts, or right now I do North Shore, then I could put that like more details on it. And then a secondary market, because New England is so small, most people are going to be like Connecticut and Mass, or Rhode Island and Mass, whatever the case may be. Notes on it. And so in the beginning, I used to do this by hand because it was during COVID and I couldn't remember like what people were telling me. So I had to like write notes as I was calling people. So this person, his wife is Michaela and she's involved in their business. That's what I wrote up for him. And then this guy, I think he filled out the form and told me, I only buy creative deals. I buy multifamily, single family in Massachusetts, midterm rental, short-term rental. Delaware is long-term rental. Dallas, I know where that is, even though I spelled it wrong, long-term rental. And then North Carolina, he buys large multifamilies, right? Like TMI, but it's good for you to tell me everything because it might not be relevant to me. But if Karina reads it and she has a business partner that just moved from Boston to North Carolina, maybe she wants to make the introduction. So anyway, so I put this together and I'll make something for like us because I'm making one for Yun's network, and Yun's network is pretty big. She has like her community, then she has the morning call people, then she has the coaching people that she does, then she has Conscious Business League and blah, blah, blah. And even me, like I have different ecosystems. Like I have a contractors group that I run. I have this new thing that I want to do that I don't even know how to do it. Then I have all my sub 2 homies on the back end. Then I have, you know, whatever shit that I have, I got stuff and I got to figure out a way to put it together that makes sense. And so for me, like same thing with you, Karina, when you put something together, you got to put it in a way that somebody can understand it well so that they can digest it and access it well. Because if you put together something that they can't do that with, then it's pointless for you to do it. So anyway, I'll put together a sheet like this, where it's email, phone numbers, the location, whatever the case may be. And then I like to ask people if you speak another language. So that's that one. And then I think ours might be like this. So I had something else called referrals and helpful things. So every time we got on a meeting, and then it would be like, oh, I just had this lender. I just had this title company. I just had whatever it is that you had. I used to write it into a spreadsheet. But then I was like, you know what? I'm the bottleneck, because if I'm handwriting this every time and maybe I get tired and I want to nap, like you don't know about the cool thing that I talked about. But anyway, so this was something where the date that somebody mentioned it, who mentioned it, in the event that I had to go back and choke out that person and be like, this was a garbage thing that you gave me. She was talking about 1031 exchange intermediary. So when you have an asset and you don't want to pay taxes, you can roll it in, but you need somebody to help you to roll it up so you can push off your tax burden. Anyway, so the name of it was API Exchange. The email or contact was that. I have no more notes for it. That's all I have for that one. Then I have like Airbnb resource. So Ty recommended Tom Swan. Ty also recommended Mitch Pomeroy. I can also go back and be like, oh, he recommended this guy in 2022. This guy might not be relevant anymore. Let me go back and maybe contact Ty and ask him, like, is this still your number one Airbnb person? Or is it somebody else? Noah Hoffman, Data Rabio. So if it was a person, I would put their number or their email. If it was a website or like StayFi, I don't know what StayFi was about. So let me go over vacation rental Wi-Fi that collects valuable guest data. If that's important to you, then you can go find it. But it was something that came up in conversation back in April of 2 years ago by Brandon Coppola, sort of deal. So these people were in my sub 2 group, so we knew each other, but then we were sharing like, these are our attorney companies over here. Lucas McArdle, Kevin Dolan, even Kevin Dolan is blacklisted. So that's why that's that way. But I'll try to put together something where we can share information, just because like, if you know me, you're going to know these people anyway. They're just part of like Sharky ecosystem sort of deal. All right, so we will get that. And then I forget what we were talking about before. Oh, let's go all the way back. What am I going to say?
Well, you were talking about focusing on the thing that you actually want.
Yes, focusing on the things that you actually want. And for you, you said multifamily appeals to you. It makes sense to you mentally, right? You need, the only way to figure out whether or not that's something that you're going to go after is for you to actually do it. That's the only way. You thinking about it, you talking about it, you whatever, anything that doesn't do the income generating activities, which is talking to people that are actually operators, talking to people that are actually selling deals, talking to people that are raising money to buy it, you're not doing it. And until you do that, you will not know. So with that said, who are the multifamily people that come to mind that you need to know within our network? You, me, Melissa, and Andrea, you better speak up if you know people. And you know people. She freaking knows too many people, actually. Make her go last. But what people in multifamily do you know of that you're like, these are the people that I need to, these are going to be my multifamily posse. I need to connect with these people. I need to be on their radar. I need to be watching what they're doing so that I can pick up multifamily things and also be front of mind when opportunities arise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who else do you know of, Karina? Who comes to mind?
I can't remember their names. I just like visually I can think. I mean, Yuri is one of the Russian speaking ones who's into
Who is Yuri?
multifamily. His name actually it's spelled Jurius, like Jurius, I think Jurius. I think he's out of New York, New Jersey or New York. It's funny. I mean, first of all, I definitely need to sort through because I feel like I network with a whole lot of people over the last few months, and I try to like structure it, but I do not have like a go-to list for multifamily, everything multifamily, which I should. Like I literally should.
I'll show you how I do it. You can see my screen, right? I'll show you how I do it. I love
Yeah.
Google. I've loved Google for a long time, and here's why. I code my people. So for example, and feel free to steal my stuff too, Melissa, when you start. So for people here, I have like tags on people, right? But this kind of got out of hand because you have to tag everybody. What I like to do is when I put you in my phone, I have like a code. So for example, S2 is sub 2. That's my sub 2 group. If I'm looking for somebody in Massachusetts, I type MA, enter. Oops. These are all the sub 2 people in Massachusetts whose like contact information I sent. And then the other thing I like to do is like, I don't know why. Oh, this guy came up as MA for mastermind. That's why, because Google can search within things. But what I like to do is, for example, sub 2 MA Andrew Costa. What does he do? He does earthwork. So this is a guy in sub 2 in Massachusetts. This is his name, and that's what he does. So not everybody is perfect, but it helps me like remember them. And so I have like another one where I think I do con. Con is supposed to be contractor, right? So all my contractors, and also I think it's funny because contractors are kind of like con men. So you got to be careful with them and make sure they're not trying to swindle you for more money. So anyway, but this contract is from Massachusetts. His name is Byron and he's a landscaper. So when I'm in my phone and I'm trying to find somebody fast, I can either find it by typing in con for contractor, MA for like the state that they're in. And this can help me like filter down who I need, or I can search for plumber or electrician.
Suzanne, can I ask you? So I do have a bit of a system too, but I don't understand how this works. So for example, I just name when I enter a name. So let's say John Smith as a contractor. So
Yep.
I decided that I would say like CR for contractor, right? And then I would say John and then last name, right? So basically, I figured if I'm sorting, like if I just said okay CR, then all my contractors will just sort, right? Like in a big block. But what you're doing is so this is what you're doing too. Like you actually
No,
save it.
so what I do is literally within the name, because the
Yeah.
other part too is you can come in here and label the person. It's kind of
Right.
hard to do that on your phone. So what I do is I add it right to the name. So what I can do is like if I go to my contacts, I cancel, who cares? Well, I don't know what directory is. This is something new. Discard. I don't want changes. So if I come to here, all of this is sorted alphabetically already, right? But it's sorted alphabetically based on name, but it doesn't help me like filter them out. So what I can do is that's why I have like the umbrella. I go from the largest umbrella
Right.
to smaller. And what's important for me is like my big umbrella is going to be contractors. It's not going to be Massachusetts. I don't care about everybody in Massachusetts. I care about contractors in Massachusetts. And then from there, like I have Scott the excavator with 2 freaking numbers over here. But I can search, for example, if I'm looking for a like plumber, and this is the PLUMB. And this is what I like about Google. Google can search through like almost everything. So I have all these people in Massachusetts that are plumbers. This person, so I changed my system halfway over where I was writing. I had a bad experience with a contractor. So that's why I changed it from RE was real estate. So people in real estate. the state they were in, the name, and then what they were doing in real estate. If they were an agent, a plumber, electrician, an attorney, this is how I would be able to find it. But so I do it right within the name, that I go from like large umbrella to smaller. And then keep in mind, you can do this where you can just search for, you can do the alphabetical thing, but I have way too many contacts that I can't do alphabetical anymore because I'm just plowing through a list of like 10,000 people. So by having a little like indicator or marker or just like a little abbreviation, so it's like a folder. You know, like when you do Google Drive, you can be like main folder, little folder, little folder.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that. That's the system that I use now that helps me on a personal level do all this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But it's a
I'll do
good
that.
way. You want to make your people like searchable, because that's the whole point in putting a contact into your phone. You're not going to remember like Melissa Ma. Is it MAH? Is it like MAI? I don't know. Does she spell with two S's or like what? A Y? I don't know. But if you do know, like, okay, she's agent from Massachusetts, then that can help you whittle things down from there. And so
Yeah.
that's why I love Google, because Google will, I'll be able to do this on desktop. I'm not an Apple person.
I actually, I tend to, like, if I met you, let's say the first time, and I learned like 3 things about you, like you
Yeah.
love dogs, you live in, in the North Shore, and you flip houses, right? So I'll usually, like, I'll put it in my notes first, but then I copy and I paste it right into the notes in the context. So
Yeah.
whichever is like the trigger that I think I'm going to remember best about you, basically,
Yep.
I just, I search by some keywords, basically, that stood out for me.
Yep. So I used to do this, I think even in like for the sub 2 stuff, I would do that. So like when you filled out the form, everything that was in that form in that Excel sheet, I actually like combined it vertically, and then that got put into your contact. I never did anything with it, but like let me see over here. Not this one. But yeah, so I would do something like that to where it's searchable, but I don't think you can search notes. I think that's the thing that's a little bit difficult, which is why I had to go to a point where I put it in the actual name, but then I didn't want to make it too long because it would have been
In the
ridiculous.
iPhone, you definitely can search notes. That's how I find pretty much anybody for the last, I don't know how many years. Like I just basically put, like, if it's a realtor, I do label all my realtors with the word realtor in front, and then Mike Johnson's. Just because again, it helps me immediately. Like when I see somebody calling, I immediately kind of see, okay, that's a realtor calling, right? Versus maybe somebody that I don't know, or somebody else. So basically, notes are definitely searchable. But you know what I find interesting, Melissa? I don't know if you already figured it out, but I feel like it's like an internal question in real estate, like for realtors, which CRM to use. Like, oh my goodness, like there's this CRM and that CRM.
You use whatever works for you, and as your
Right.
needs change, you're going to change it. So if you become, so most people start out with Google, then they max out like Google Drive, then they'll move over to Podio. So CRM is a little bit different because CRM is a relationship manager versus this is just a contacts manager. So this for me is important because I remember like things about people where I'm like the redheaded girl from the last meetup, and I usually try to remember like where they're from and what they do, sort of deal. And it's a good marker for you that as you go out to also your brand should be that. Who are you and what do you do? And make sure that people, when they meet you, they have that thing about you already, right? Like when I introduced you just now, I'm like, oh, she's an agent out of Boston, right? I was like Russian agent out of Boston. And then I know now that you're an Armenian Russian agent out of Boston. And I know that's not even perfectly, but Armenian from Russia, Boston agent. Anyway, it's a easy way for me to, if I need to find you, because that's how I'm going to need you, is I'm going to be like, I need an agent in Boston, Karina. That's the first person I should think of mentally. Mentally, that's how I find you. And in my system, that's how I find you. So this is just contact managers. This is actually Matt Sloak, the guy that I want you to talk to for Springfield. So remember I told you that form that you filled out? I put it in here that like if we ever needed it, we could, look at things. So all the information is here. I know where he lives, his superpower persistence. I also used to check out like, what two accountability groups were they part of? Like, are the Florida people, I can connect all the people in New England with the New England, Florida accountability group and then know all this. I know too much information. It's ridiculous, but you can put in notes about this. I put notes in usually like the children's name, or if I find out like the mom, they're like, oh, I'm at my kid's birthday party, I'll open up my phone and I'll write that as a note just just to remember things, because I hate like, because they know that I know their wife. I just can't remember their wife's name sort of deal. So all this is helpful for me. This is how I do it on my side. And then this was just for sub to New England stuff, which is way different. And then this is usually how I have it like in my thing is I'll mark it like this: real estate in Massachusetts. Who is this? Adam J. Walleritz. Actually, I think you and I met him at Melissa. You met this guy, I think. No, we didn't. So then I can see the interactions was back in 2022. He was coming to, when Pace came out, he wanted to meet up with him. So it's just it's a real estate person. He's a real estate person, not sub to, not anything in Massachusetts. His name is Adam. That's where he lives. And he has a website. Okay. But that's
So-
how I do my contacts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And let's go back and answer your question, which is, who is
Yeah, I
it?
gotta create basically like all my multifamily references.
So what I would say is pick top 5 people you should know in multifamily. I'll give you mine. You should know Kevin Kozak. Do you know
One
him?
sec. No, I don't think so. I feel like it's
No.
the last time.
So Kevin Kozak, you're very similar to him. So Kevin Kozak he's a Marine. He's like 26. No, he's probably 24 right now. This guy is crazy young. He scares the piss out of me because when he's my age, when he's 12 years later, he's going to be insane. He's already insane. You can find him on Instagram. His stuff is really like smart. So he's a Marine, a real mother effing Marine, young guy, blonde hair, blue eyes. He was an agent out of Connecticut. He house hacked his first purchase by charging his girlfriend rent to pay his mortgage. And then he charged next door neighbor to also pay his mortgage. So he lived in his house for free because of his girlfriend, and he's going to marry her, and because of his next door neighbor. So he house hacked his duplex in Connecticut. Then he got together with another one of his Marine friends, and he created like Eagle's Nest Solutions. They changed it. Now they're called Red Door Equities. They have an email mailer that they'll send out if you might have gotten it. And they specifically do multifamily in Ohio. And there's a reason for that because he markets by doing direct mail. And he is I call him the old money white man wallet whisperer. Whatever it is, he'll be on the phone for 10 minutes and then people will be like, shut up, I'll give you money. How much money you want? That's him. Like he can get $1 million out of somebody without even trying. I don't even know, but they just know. They're like, oh my God, you're so smart. I take all my money. No joke. Just listen to any of his calls. It's amazing. But out of Connecticut, he went to, this is really bad because I call it Bert and Ernie, and that's not the answer. You might as well just ask him what the answer is, but there's Jake and Gino. Jake and Gino multifamily. Have you heard of them?
Yes.
Yeah. So Jake and Gino multifamily, they're big boys. I think to get into that was a $40,000 mentorship that they paid for and they split between him and his partner. They're in that. They've gone to like Florida and maybe Texas for that. It's like once a year big meetup thing. They're wonderful. Definitely go talk to Kevin Kozak. Kevin Kozak is sub 2, OG sub 2. Then there's also, you got Iffy. Yeah. Then we also know Vina Jetty.
Mhm.
Okay. Vina Jetty is one of those, Melissa, you can find her on Instagram. She has a whole multifamily mentorship and hers is called Multi-Fi. And she does a beautiful job because she's a woman, of course, but she does a beautiful job of running her mentorship. And she's very well known for being an actual operator. So one thing that kind of scared me is when I went to community camp, Jamil Damji, which is kind of on the level of Pace Morby, Melissa. I mean, like we know all this. It's crazy that like we know all this stuff. Melissa, who knows nothing about sub 2, is like, who the fuck is Jamil? And we're like, Jamil is a big fucking deal, homie. Anyway, Jamil lost $500,000 by investing in multifamily because the guy that they invested with, the whole deal fell apart. And so he talks about, he's like, I just lost $500,000. And so he, in my opinion, is supporting Vina Jetty because Vina Jetty, there's a whole bunch of people that want to do multifamily, but don't actually know how to do it, or they do it and it goes to shit. And so Vina Jetty is one of those who has done it and done it well. And she has that experience underneath her belt, which is why Pace and whoever else that interacts with her wants to invest with her, and then also wants her to teach how to do it because they've been burned before by other people. So Vina Jetty is one. We know of her. She might not be one to reach because her celebrity status might be too high, but following her content on Instagram will be helpful because you'll meet all the other people that she interacts with. And then on top of it, she has like a real estate board, like a woman-led real estate board of like, what's her name? Carolyn Briley, that's one. She's great. Then there's another one, Chris, it's like Christy Sherrill now. I don't know how to say it. I know how to see it. I don't know how to say it. My dog is being needy. This is my everything. Anyway, this is Rupert. So Vina Jetty has her like REI board where she talks about this, but it's like excellence in multifamily. Who else do we know in multifamily? Andrea Chin, now is the time to unmute. Because I'm
She
thinking.
said Christy Shrill.
I spelled Christie's last name wrong. It wasn't auto
Oh, sure now. Am I saying that right?
rule or something. I don't say it right either. SCHRULE or something like. But let me just tell you something. If you
What?
go to this free Facebook group and you post a question or make a comment or whatever, they will help you. That group is super, super helpful. That were those people were like, a lot of them were the original, like I was in it. That was her original group before she had the paid one. Christy will answer in the free group. Vina will answer in the free group. Priya, which is Vina's sister, anybody will answer in that group. They're just so willing to, no, that's not it, but they're just so willing to help out and educate and share what they know, because that's what she pushes. She wants you to teach others, just like Pace. So she wants you to take what you learned and then answer, and repeat it back to other people. But the group itself is just tremendous knowledge. Avishkar,
Yes,
he's very,
I
very
know Avishkar.
yeah, he's very, very good. And he didn't start out where he is now. So this is, I mean, if you could have only seen, like, I guess what I saw from the beginning, how these people just grew tremendously. Alexis Jimenez Mora, he does multifamily. He's been doing quite a bit. I mean, Mary Kang is multifamily with Vina, but I think she also does multifamily with a different group. I'm not exactly sure. But anyone in that, if you go to the free Facebook group, I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed if you ask a question, and it will get answered. And yeah, it'll get answered. And it will get answered by people like Vina or Priya, or even if you had a law question and you tagged her Nick. Nick is her SEC lawyer. They'll answer. They answer. So definitely I would check out that group.
So hang on, let me find, did you give the name of it?
The group is Mastering Multifamily with Vina Jetty. That's the free one. Mastering?
Rena, are you in it or no?
Probably am. I don't know for sure now because I just tuned
I
out.
don't think I saw you.
Okay.
Let me just tag you. Watch here. I will tag
Wow,
you.
6.9 thousand members. That's pretty baller.
It's not even a year old. November will be a year.
That's some explosive ass growth.
She will ask questions for you to join, and you do have to answer them to before she accepts you. So let's see. This is the name you use, Karina. Is this your Facebook name too?
Yeah. Karina
Yes.
Dmarchan.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
I'm lost on the
Karina
screen. One
RB?
sec. I'll
Wait,
right here. No, I'm not in the group. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Matching multifamily. Yeah. Let me see if I can join.
You'll have to join. You'll
Drop you my phone number for ebook. Okay, I'm dropping my email.
Are these multifamily resources, are they just commercial multifamily or are they residential multifamily as well?
It's all commercial, over 4 units, it's all commercial.
Okay.
Commercial meaning it's for residential purposes, but it's considered to be commercial real estate because it's over 4 units.
Right, Vita does big commercial. She also only does like credit, if you wanted to do a fund with her or something. She's only accredited investors. She only does accredited investors, like certain numbers, certain.
Accredited means you have to make more than $200,000 a year. And I think you have to have done that for 3 years.
2 or 3 years, and you have to have with the expectation of doing it, so they'll ask for proof, or you can have just like a net worth, but not including your house. So I think you have $1 million or something. Yeah, and even if you ask that question, but you could search that question, it's in there. If you had a question like, I was thinking about this, can I like, you can ask anything about what do they call it, B and C, when you're raising capital. You know what I'm talking about. I can't think of the term right now, but Nick would answer that for you. Other people might chime in and then they'll tag Nick. It's just a really, 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 if that's where you want to go, it's a helpful group. And don't think because she's Vina, she won't answer, because she will. Christy, I mean, Myra, Carolyn, like you said, Carolyn has she has a group with Al Dominguez, Pauline Stegman, and I don't know who the fourth person is. They're fund managers for an asset that Vina has.
Oh,
Myra, Carolyn.
Carolyn Brandley. Yeah, what is that group? I know that group. I asked her about it. I think it's called like REI board. Let me find it.
No, it's not REI board. It's called It's called, I forgot what it's called.
Swear to God, it's called the REI board. And I'm gonna eat shit in 2 seconds, but it's similar.
It's not REI board. Not her multifamily fund.
It's called like the boardroom or something.
No, that might be, they have this new thing where they have board
The
members.
REI board.
Right, but that's not her fund. That's not her fund.
Oh, right. She's
She's a fund manager for one of Vina's assets.
yeah, it's like Viva or something. It's a good name.
Right. See all these right here. That's Vina, Priya, Christy, Elizabeth, smart as a whip, and her husband Jared, really, really smart and like really friendly. These all friendly, super nice, helpful people.
Yeah.
And she has now, and I don't know if it's in her free group, she's kind of following paces because she breaks it down. She'll have someone doing
Awesome, thank you.
underwriting. She'll have someone doing calling, I think. She has, oh, you know who's really smart dude in this? Andrew Barceros or something like that. He has a very interesting background too. Let me just look him up if I could find his name.
Honestly, so this is definitely a good place for you to start, right? If your goal is to do multifamily, then you need to do it, right? Don't do anything else but that. It's ridiculous. It's like you're like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to be a private chef so that I can cook for Oprah Winfrey one day, and you're like, what? Just go talk to her. God damn it! Like you're doing all this weird back stuff. But yeah, so Ife Ayosh, love and adore her. Talk to her because she's going to tell you the same thing, that when she first started, she was doing everything but the thing that she wanted to do, and that didn't work out for her. So love and adore her. Then there's Kevin. Ooh, not Ken. Kevin
Iffy was
Kozak.
actually in Vina's group in the beginning, and then I guess because she really did well in her multifamily dreamers, you don't see her as much, but she was in there originally. She just
What else do we know for like the multifamily groups? We know like multifamily dreamers, Jake and Gino multifamily.
you know who does both? KJ Mudd, I think. I don't know how big that multifamily is. KJ and Joseph Mudd.
Oh yeah. That's another
The
group.
multifamily millionaires or something. I don't know what they call themselves, what their group is.
So KJ Mudd is actually part of sub 2, like throwback sub 2. And she did really well. I think she sold a couple deals with Pace, and she went from probably doing wholesaling to multifamily because she was selling deals to Pace at one time, and now she does her own thing. So multifamily millionaire is a good one. What else is there? There's a lot.
I have a list actually somewhere for sure. There's like a multifamily mixer or something like that. It's called
Yeah.
it's like a
I'm biased, but I would say, so you're not going all over and staying scattered. I'm gonna tell you, go into Venus Free Group and just scour it. Just look, search for questions that you have. I'm gonna guess someone else answered, and it's there. Ask a question out of curiosity to see how they ask. Just think of something really tough, post it in the group, and see if who answers. I'm gonna tell you someone's gonna answer, and they're gonna answer pretty quickly. And if not, I'm gonna be disappointed, and I will go in there and I will say, "People, help this lady out." And then you'll get answers.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's one of my favorite things about like the sub-2 community and just communities in general, like people's willingness to help out because they know where you've been at one point in time, right?
Mhm.
They want to see you succeed because they know that at a point in time, it's like, what is that thing about like healing your childhood trauma? You become the person that you needed a long time ago. So it's really nice to be that for others. Yeah.
But
Hi, Darina. All right, so Karina, meet Darina.
yes.
You have your mission, which is to do the thing that you actually want and no more bullshit. Technically, you have to do some bullshit because, you're a realtor and you got to do that bullshit. But everything that you don't have to do, the goal should always be for you to do income generating activities specifically, and then to focus on what your actual dream is, because there's no reason you should be doing anything but your dream. It's very silly to do anything but your dream. And the question should always be, does the thing that I'm doing, does it move me closer or further away from what I actually want? Because you might just be in left field, like handing out, making burgers, handing out burgers left and right. And what's the point of that if you are not growing, developing, getting what you want as a person? You're going to get very angry fast.
I feel like what the problem is with this for me, like with this idea of like focusing on just one thing, and I feel like everybody goes through the same thing, but if, for example, if my sole goal was money, right? Like I was just like, okay, this is how much I need to make, yada yada yada, and then I would be like searching for ways to make that money, right? So maybe it's not multifamily, maybe it's something else, right? But the reality of it is like, there's something about I am super curious person and I truly do want to study. Like I actually am super curious. And the problem with that is of course that you just spread yourself way too thin and you're not, master of nothing. Basically, you just kind of like, you know enough about all these things. But it in a way, I feel like I also just don't want to become like a robot, that's just doing multifamily just because like
You
I'm doing everything else.
you will never become a robot because you're so intent like what is it, intelligently stimulated that anything you master, you're going to get bored of. It's the whole reason why like I experiment with things because you've done something one time and you're like, ooh, I want to get a little bit funky with something else. You're worrying about things that are not even things. You need to do the goddamn thing, Karina. That's your only mission in life. In fact, I feel like kicking you out of this call right now so that you can go and you absolutely need to join like I'm not joking. You need to join Venus group. Go say hello to Kevin Kozak or text me a message that says, introduce me to mother effing Kevin Kozak. He's great. He's great. And he has a real estate agent background and can speak to that. And then, yeah, follow the girls on the REI board and multifamily. There's so many people that are doing it. And talk to Iffy. Iffy's wonderful as well. But you need to do the goddamn thing because you researching everything and trying to be ready, it's not going to get you nowhere. And just so you know, tomorrow is not promised. Nobody says you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to have all this time to study and be prepared and then go do it. Nobody's ready to do the damn thing. You become ready. You become the person you need to be as you do it. So you just need to do it. The end. I'm kicking you out. You need to leave. I love you, but I'm serious.
No, I agree. Okay.
Right.
I gotcha. I took good notes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So just Suzanne, just for future reference. So
Yeah,
is this because I didn't know you do these
I
weekly
didn't know
calls.
I do these either. This is
No,
the
no,
first.
I didn't say why you do them. I didn't know you do them.
You want to know why I do them?
No. I said I didn't know you do them. So you do them
Oh,
every week. Is
I
that
don't
a
know
thing?
that. This is my first time doing them. So
Oh,
The reason
okay.
reason why I'm doing them is I used to host the calls. They were like Tuesday. We used to do twice a week for like fucking hours at a time. I used to host them for like a year and a half, and I was anal about it. And it's a good thing, and that's how we built the community. But I got to a point where I can't be the leader because I'm the bottleneck, and it can only grow as much as I grow. And at the same time, too, I can't do everything. So it came to a point where I put a whole leadership team in place, and then now the leadership team needs to run it based on their version of what they think is best for the group. And so I have to hand over the keys. And so part of it is if I'm in the room, they're going to look at me and be like, are we doing this right? And the answer is don't ask for my approval, just do the damn thing. And you become the person you need to be as you do it. It's part of leadership. So I turned it over to them. But for me, on a personal level, I miss being connected to people. And I'm also, people know that I've been through some shit lately with like friends, and I'm raising my standard of what a friend is. So not only am I looking for excellence within real estate, but I'm looking for integrity, and I'm looking for somebody who knows that they need to develop. They need to continue to develop because that's the person that I am. I want to continually be a better person, and that means working on my bullshit, whatever that might be. And there are people out there that don't even want to try. They don't even want to acknowledge their bullshit. That shit is scary. So those are the things that I'm looking for. And then on top of it,
Yeah.
just because of the way my schedule is, I like to do that. I like to be reachable. I like to be accessible, but I don't have all the time in the day. So I thought, why don't I just do like a one night a week call? Ask me whatever you want to ask me. I'll give you everything. I'll be home at my computer instead of on the road, because I feel like I'm not at my battle station. I don't have all my goodies and all the things I want to give you. I don't have it because I'm not here. So yeah, so I was thinking about doing it once a week, whatever you want, because if not, then all week long you saw me, like I get messages left and right. I can't answer them all the time. So I'll either answer you a week later or just come here and chase me down and be like, biatch, answer my goddamn question, because I'm here. So
Yeah.
I want to make myself available once a week. I think right now Wednesdays are good. I'm into this, like I'm into silly things like talk about it. And then I was like, oh, we should do Taco Tuesdays where we can talk about it. Plus I love Mexican food. I don't know, stupid, but as needs evolve, I will evolve. But I think committing to about 3 hours a week is good because people want to learn, and people are all over the spectrum. You guys can learn from each other as well. So yeah, I'll be
Okay.
here.
I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, come anytime.
Very nice to meet you guys.
It was
Um,
nice meeting you, Karina. Thank you so
Make
much
us
for all the
proud,
information.
Karina.
I will.
You
I
can't
do
come
want to,
back.
I do want to do, I mean, it's almost like I have to because I joined that owners thing. And basically, apparently I have to do a deal, like a wholesale deal or some sort of deal. I don't know. So I better do a deal. So it's not like in the
There's
future.
no reason why you
I-
can't do a multi-family deal. There's no reason.
Oh my God, you scare me.
Oh, Brenda Rose.
Okay.
Brenda Rose is the last one that I'll tell you about. Are you
Okay.
connected with her?
No.
Okay, her name is Brenda Rose Invest. She runs OCJV, Ocean County Joint Venture. She's wonderful. She's Asian. She's female. What's not to love? But OCJV, Brenda, she's doing a meetup in Atlanta like right now. She is also one to watch. She's definitely multifamily all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
So connect with her because she's one of those that they haven't put a deal together just yet, but when the deal is ready, she's nationwide. So you don't have to work with somebody just where you are in Boston. You can work with anybody. But if you need to be doing a deal, there's no reason why you can't do a deal that you actually want to do, which is a multifamily deal. So go do that. Go do what you actually want to do.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have a heart attack. And I'm gonna thank you for it.
Go tell your friend too who wants to buy the house, Google it. Go to Pace Morby. There's a bajillion videos on there.
Yeah.
Start there. And that's the other thing too, is when you help people, like what I'm telling you right now, which is I'm not going to talk to you about, I mean, that's rude, but like in a way, I'm not going to continue to help you or talk to you until your behavior shows me that you're
Right.
ready to take action. And the same thing goes for any client that you have. If you give them homework to do or something to do, you shouldn't be doing everything for them.
Right.
Give them something that they can do so they can demonstrate to you that they are serious and they're in it more than you are in it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a partnership. Yeah, it's like that in the doctor's office too, honestly. I feel like we need to like shift. I mean, I shifted my mindset about a lot of things in my life, like including medical things. But in this realm for now, like I just feel like somebody needs to like take my hand and hold it and like pull me through some hole, right? And I'm like, I know it's not gonna, that's not how it's gonna happen. But at the same time, it's like this, the anxiety of it is sort of like, I think, where do I even begin with this? But I agree. I'll just figure it out. I'll come back
Help
when I figure
yourself
it out.
first. Iffy Aosh, Kevin Kozak, Vina Jetty Facebook group. Start there.
I'll
And
take
if
the
you don't
screenshots.
do
Yeah.
that, I'm not talking to you ever again. I'm going to decline all your calls.
I will, I promise. I already talked to
That
if
makes
he,
that makes your heart beat. But anyway, have a good night. Go
thank you so much.
get shit done. Goodbye. Love you.
Thank you so much. Bye guys.
Bye. Dorina, come say hi for a second. And then Melissa, if you have questions, you let me know. Hi.
Hey.
It's been such a long time and you haven't aged. I'm so mad.
Oh, no, I am aging every day, every minute, honestly. Every deal.
Are you having another kid or are you just having one?
No, just one. Don't have time for another one. But I have so many deals on my board, so
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where are you at? So last time I saw you was community camp, right? That was the last time I saw you in person and probably
I
virtually.
No, I think we met only in Boston. That was
Oh my God.
it was a long time ago.
I
Yeah,
feel
so
like I talked to you in the middle though, because you're putting on quite a few events. Like you did a big meetup. You're like in Ohio. No, you're like Illinois, like
Minnesota. It's close to
landlocked corn. That's what I thought. What is Minnesota known for?
lakes.
That's it. I'm thinking like leather baseball gloves. I feel like you're like the number one manufacturer for like leather baseball gloves. But Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay, so you're out there having meetups. You did a big meetup with like Pace recently too, right?
It was September. He came. It was third meetup that we did, and it was it was
That's
nice.
awesome. Where are you guys at right now? Where are you at with things?
So we in Minnesota, and we I do a lot of TC deals. I now starting to build more like CRM, so I can actually find deals for our flips. Because
Find deals
now
for who?
for flips, to do flips.
Flips. Mhm.
So basically, we rely on wholesalers to send us deal, which is like not good idea
Mm.
because they send you trash.
Yeah, so that's another thing. So Melissa is an agent up where I am at, and she's newer in the thing. And I told her, like, girl, I'm gonna replace all 4 of your jobs with one deal. Just do one deal with me. Let me pop your cherry. We'll get it done. And so she was asking tonight about wholesale deals, and I agree with you. Some of them are complete trash. However, I'm also like a hoarder to where like every deal has value. So even though it's complete trash, it still might be that you can go back to the seller and just be like, listen, what's it really gonna take to get it done? But you got to be really
So I
firm
have
if
a
you do that.
question.
Yeah.
After you find an ugly house, what's the process after that? Because I
Talk.
want to get into it, but I feel like I don't know what direction to go. And, you know, I am very much, I need to be in the field in order to learn all the textbook, all the terms and stuff. It's just gonna
No,
overwhelm
honey,
me.
you're gonna forget all of it. And the only way to know it, to learn it, is to actually do it. So go back. Like one of my favorite things that somebody said is, it's Brent Daniels, but TTP, talk to people. It's genius to me. It's the equivalent of like Nike, just do it. Talk to people. Whoever the owner of the property is, whoever owns the property is who you need to talk to. And if you need to find that person, talk to the neighbors, talk to anybody that you can talk to, call the city, ask them like what the history is on it. And even then, like when I get a lead in, I don't even have to tell them like, here's how I found you. I literally just ask them, what's going on? My name is Suzanne. I'm calling about this property. What's going on? What would you like to do? And then it just goes whatever is going on. It's just like free therapy for them. But start there. It's usually about solving their problem, but you need to figure out what that is. And sometimes they won't tell you the problem in the beginning. They think they know the answer to the problem and that's the solution. But usually what you find out is that's garbage. You need to find out what the problem is and then give them a real solution.
So what's the ideal problem I should be looking for?
A shitty
From
house, a shitty
Mhm.
house that somebody can't take care of for whatever, it doesn't matter the reason, whether finances or they're old or whatever. But there's a shitty house that's been neglected. Probably somebody doesn't live there and it's become a burden, not an asset. So whenever you see, you know, like signs of distress to look for. You can see like cars parked in there, trash can, whatever the case may be, and just ask them, hi, my name is Melissa. I just want to talk, are you the owner of this property? What's going on? How are you? That's it. Start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm looking through like MLS listings, so there's really not much
Call,
opportunity.
nope, call the agent and ask them what's really going on.
Okay.
What's really going on? What's the actual situation? What is the seller trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because I'm trying to wrap my head around it, because I want to flip just like you flip, but
Mhm.
I literally know nothing about the process or
You don't have
what it
to know.
entails.
You don't have to know. You need the opportunity, which is the house. So once you have the house, find the owner, talk to the owner. That's your only goal. All the other questions about who, what, where, when, how, don't worry about that. Talk to them and just ask them the story. What's going on? What's
Mm-hmm.
going on? Same way, like when I talked to Dorina, there's so much that she could tell me, right? And if I ask her, like, only tell me about this, no, Dorina, you tell me what you want to tell me, and then from there we'll figure out how to unpack things.
Okay. And then so when it comes to flipping, obviously I know you have a plethora of people that you can contact and in terms of financing and things like that. I I'm not in that position. How, like, I know it's like the TTP, talk to people, but who are these people that I should be reaching out to?
So we won't even get there. Once you have a deal, that's when I will introduce you to people that you need to know. Because
Okay.
you trying to get ready before the thing actually happens is very silly. Like same thing with Karina, she's worried about something that's not even reality. We live only in reality. So once you have a deal, that's when we can go step by step to start to unpack things. So don't
Okay.
worry about those things. Don't get too far ahead. Just know that you have access to me, Yun, Pam, and all of them, right? Everybody. And then am I seeing you on the 22nd too?
Uh, I don't know about the 22nd. I know I have another meeting like a few days before that with Pam.
Okay.
So I might be there.
It's all on their Instagram. So Conscious Business League on the 22nd, they're having an event. Just send her a message and be like, am I coming? All those
Mhm.
people. So once you have a problem, then you come to people who you know or think can solve it, and then you just ask us, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Don't
So
be
more so
stressed.
find an ugly house near your house, near where you live, 45 minutes from where you live
Yeah.
ish. Okay.
Find an ugly house. Yeah. All right. Sorry, Dorina. Um,
I'm sorry. Sorry
no,
to
no,
interrupt, but
you're
I
okay.
actually do have to go because I got to teach in the morning. So
You're good.
it's
Write
kind of
me
past my bedtime.
anytime you want to write me, and then hopefully I see you on the 22nd, but talk to Pam about that.
Definitely. Thank you so much, everyone, for all the information. I have like pages of notes. So
Honestly, I don't mean to be rude. It's not going to help you. You got to do it at the end of the day. So this is good. So you feel like confident going into it, but at the end of the day, the only way to actually learn is to do it. And then you don't need notes because you're going to have everything up here.
Yeah, yeah, and what Yun had said that really stuck to me, and it was just a brief conversation with her. She just said, there's always going to be people that judge you. You just got to do it. Like,
Yeah.
do what's right for you. So I've been really trying to, um, capitalize on that and
Yeah.
really trying to just put myself out there. So, but
You
I
did good.
appreciate
I saw your
everyone.
stuff. I saw your stuff.
Thank you.
You're like, I'm getting into it. This is me. Am I getting into it face? I saw it.
Mhm.
But keep on keeping on. Good luck at school tomorrow. And hopefully I see you on the 22nd. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you,
All right.
everyone. Have a
Bye,
good
Mama.
one. Bye-bye.
All right. So Minnesota, you're TCing deals. I saw that too. You're doing CRMs to find deals for flips because you want to flip specifically for yourself.
So we do flips.
You
But
do
then,
flip already.
yeah. So my husband, he does flips since 2009.
Nice.
So, but he does it for other people. So we want just to do it. And we started doing for ourselves 2 years ago, and it's just hard to find deals. Like good deal, wholesalers will keep themselves, because
What about like some of the deals that you TC on, right? Are they in your area?
yeah, most of them, a lot of them, I would say.
Have you told the people that like you TC for, whether they're buyers or sellers, like or
So,
attorneys?
like again, if there's a good deal, people keep it.
Yeah. What
Like
about
if there's a bad deal,
Are there deals that fall apart?
You mean that I do TC on?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you that good of a TC.
So no, basically, if I see that deal is not good, I just don't take it.
Oh,
So
there
before,
might be a little bit of a missed opportunity there. Because some of the deals that we've done up here is because we tried to find a buyer outside of sub 2, or for whatever reason, something goes south. But you can also renegotiate the contract when things go bad.
so with TC, if I sign TC agreement, I don't really negotiate. Like TC don't like it's another business that I have.
Hmm.
But so if someone says like, if it sounds bad, if the deal sounds bad from the
Yeah.
like attitude and whatever they try to accomplish,
Yeah,
I just skip it. It's
yeah,
I have enough, honestly. Like it's fine. Like if I don't get a deal, it's not about money, it's about like what will happen in the future. Because if there's like bankruptcy, loan modification, if they're trying to buy a house from like old seller and do some creepy stuff, I'm like, I always ask what's happening
Hmm.
before.
What if, so I get that, because I'm in the same boat where I'm like, I don't want to be part of this junky deal, this is terrible, and I refuse to be part of it. What if you were to go back to some of the people that you rejected? I'm just saying, go back to them and say like, hey, Lisa, that deal that you had a year ago, did you end up ever selling it? What happened to it? And what I mean by that is if you can introduce your husband and just be like, listen, I met a cash buyer. He's really good at what he does, even though it's your husband, right? I met a cash buyer. He's really good at what he does. He might be a buyer for that at the right price. Do you still have that lead, that contact? Is it a dead lead or whatever the case may be? Because I feel like as a TC, you guys are like in the front row of everything that's happening. And I've seen deals that like at the last minute fall apart, and somebody who understands creative finance or whatever can find a way to make it work, even if it means going back to the seller and having to renegotiate, or even going back to the person who brought you the deal and saying, listen, we're going to try to close on this. I'll pay you a dead lead fee of 2,500 or 1,000, but I have a guy who can get the deal done, sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But finding a way to like restructure it, you knowing all the things that you know, and being like, listen, I won't take this on as a TC. However, I do know a guy who would buy a deal like this, but if it's restructured a bit, but he would buy it like this and not like that.
Right. So most of the time, wholesalers, they like far from the good
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Because it's like we have the list of deals that fell apart
Yeah.
from other wholesalers, and sometimes we contact them after like they like done, you know. And sometimes I see one house go to 5 different people. It's crazy.
Mm. Is there, I'm surprised you guys been at, so over the last 3 years when you and your husband have been doing this, how many flips have you guys done in that time? I know finding deals is hard, but how many have you done?
Oh, so we do for us and for other people, and we do around 4 or 5 a year. But it's like we did 3 only that like totally ours, and then other with partners.
Okay.
Sometimes we come and bring money and finish the project. Sometimes we help someone to run it. So it just how about you? What are you doing now? Are you doing only flips?
So yeah, I only do flips exclusively. Here, let me stop sharing my screen. I don't know how to stop sharing my screen. I am sharing my screen, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do I stop?
And I will not be able to talk for long because I have
That's
to
okay.
work.
It's okay. What do you mean you have to work? You have to do TC stuff?
So someone just sent me agreement. Usually I don't work late, but if it's urgent, I will still work. So someone need to send the seller a contract agreement, like purchase agreement, and they wait for me, and it's 8:16. So I really need to work on it.
All right.
But
Listen,
it was so nice to see you. I just saw that you
nice to
have
see
another
you.
call. I just want to see you.
If at some point in time, are you still doing leadership stuff for Minnesota?
Yes.
I'd love to talk to you about that at some point. So maybe maybe next week or whenever.
Yes.
But yeah, because I had promised at community camp I would give away like all the leadership stuff. And I have, but I only do it on like one-on-one phone calls with people. But I had promised to like put together like all my shit and just give it so you can look at everything and cherry pick things that might work for you or change it so it works for you.
I mean, you're doing amazing. I saw the spreadsheet for your flips. I'm like, oh my gosh, I told my husband, like, you see how they do it, and we just a mess. So you're doing amazing.
The
Like,
spreadsheet, you mean Squad 100 stuff you saw?
uh-huh.
Oh, that was on purpose though, because so many people asked, it's kind of like how I want to do the leadership stuff because I want to be able to give everything away. And the reason why I did Squad 100 was to give flipping stuff away. So I don't do that for normal stuff. It was because everybody's asking for it, that it's kind of like a case study. That's
Okay.
not normal at all. But for
Oh,
me,
I was like, oh,
yeah, no, that's crazy. Yeah. But
yeah,
I
I
did that
just,
because I had a team of people that were looking at it, and then like my entire sub to New England people, I did it so they could see what everything looks like. Because everybody's always curious, like how much money did you actually make? How much money did you actually spend on this? Like a staircase by the time you're done with this, like $2,011. And you're like, but where did that money come from? Like how much in materials, how much for paint, how much for this? So that's why I
right.
did that, because I wanted people to feel more comfortable with it. But I'm surprised, honestly, that you are having trouble like locating deals. I feel like 3 years in the business, a leader of Minnesota, right?
Oh, so I started doing it actually only a year ago. So I'm not being like, no, I didn't like I learned the word deed 3 years ago.
Mm.
I didn't know even like words about real estate, like nothing. Now I do consultations like 3 times a day, for other investors that
Yeah.
just need some guidance. So, so it just all how you like, and I know that I'm not using everything that God gave me for sure. But I just started to be more active like last year, and I
Serena,
was just gathering information until then.
what are you after? What are you trying to do? What's the ultimate dream for you? I know you gotta go, but
Yeah, we need to have cash flow.
mhm.
So we want to build some capital, so we just have some safety, and then we want just cash flow.
Did you have a job before you started doing real estate stuff?
Yeah, but it was logistic company.
Uh-huh. Like, did you make like 50,000, 60,000?
No, I was working from Ukraine,
Oh,
and it was $1,500, and it's like 15 times more than people make.
yeah. Okay.
So
So
it was
technically,
for, you know.
so technically you can, like, sky is the limit for you. Because technically you have a husband who has a normal kind of 9 to 5 job
He
doing,
doesn't.
no, but not normal 9 to 5, but what I'm saying is like, he has kind of a job already helping other people do flips.
And
what
he
you
is
guys-
doing now like our own too.
Yeah,
So he's now working on our own flip.
which is awesome because once you can transition to just your stuff and then combined with you on the back end, then you guys can really do some powerful stuff. So if you guys are, at some point you'll be doing flips for capital, but the end all be all goal is, do you want to be like Airbnb hostess? You want to be multifamily owner?
I have two Airbnbs. I don't like it.
What do you want to do? What is the supreme Dorina look like on the other side?
Honestly, I think we need to reconnect because I feel bad. I want to talk to you, but also
No,
I know
go.
that they waiting
No,
for
you're
me.
good. Go. Listen, call me anytime you want. Text me anytime you want.
I know you're
And
busy.
one of my goals is to help people lead, but lead in a way where your prosperity is taken care of. Because
Yeah, the thing with leadership, they asked me like, can I join your team? And I'm like, I don't have a team yet. So that's why I started to do like, okay, I need to build CRM. I need to start doing something. So I also can lead people actually. Okay, I have to do that because he's waiting. I'm like 40 minutes late now, but
You're
It
fine.
was so nice
Listen,
to see you.
love you big time. Very nice to see you. And we'll work on it. No worries.
Oh, thank you. You're the best.
Bye, Darina. Nice to see you.
Bye. Nice to see you too.
All right.